Hello and welcome back to another exciting episode of Lost of Lieutenant. I'm your host Kevin, and on tonight's show I'm joined by fellow host
Val.
G'day Val, and on tonight's show we have a very special guest, the winner of Novacore 2022, Lachlan Summer.
Hey there.
Good to have you on the show, Lachlan. So tonight we're going to get to know Lachlan and then pick his brain about Infinity and then discuss how he navigated his way to victory at Novacore. And of course what he thought of the event and running the Deadly Avatar. But first, as always, we will check in with our hosts. So, Val, I know it's only been a few days since we last spoke, but have you been up to anything Infinity-wise?
Yes, I have actually. Quick plug, I will be featuring on the next Whip 12 episode, or our Whip 12 episode coming
Get
up.
off the show. Get the fuck off the show right
now. Yeah. Drop that bomb, what a bombshell. But basically I got to speak with Raymond about some more out, so that'll be coming up soon. Other than that, I'll be meeting up with some of the guys in Geelong. We've been talking about ECM, which is an event I'm sure we'll mention, and just getting ready for that. That's about it.
Yeah, right. And but no games happening since you got back from Novacore. Taking a bit of a break.
Yeah, that's right. No games.
No games. Now, and that's the same with myself. I've actually just moved house. Well, not even moved house. I've actually moved all of my stuff into storage, because I'm going away to Europe for 3 months in about 3 weeks' time. So I've had literally no time to do anything other than pack and recover from Novacore, pack and work. And I'm actually away at work at the moment now over in the west of Victoria for a job. So fingers crossed the internet doesn't crap out here in the sticks. And what about yourself, Lachlan? Have you been up to any Infinity since you got back from Novacore?
Just mainly thinking about painting my Taskmaster so I can go back to Bakunin for a while, maybe after the Avatar rage. But I've just been thinking about it. I haven't actually put a paintbrush on it yet.
So was your sort of first love Bakunin or Nomads?
Definitely Nomads, and probably Bakunin. I sort of swap between thinking my most loved Nomads are Corregidor and Bakunin, but Bakunin probably wins out. The first time I played top table at CanCon, I played Bakunin against Rory. So yeah.
Did you play the Imperial Service for a little while, Lachlan?
I did. I played Imperial Service, and I played just to try out the dreaded Xian trick, which everybody hated.
The mad traps, yep.
Yeah, but I must put out there that whenever I did that, I talked to my opponent about it and warned them exactly what was happening.
Yes.
And actually asked them if they were okay with playing it, because I wanted to see if it was as broken as people sort of thought it was. And if they seemed to feel funny about it, I just didn't do it.
Yeah. Nah, I did that one to Jacob, the fellow host Jacob once. And yeah, it was in a friendly game, but yeah, it wasn't a pleasant experience. But I definitely tried that trick as well.
It's funny, those things, they seem really broken, but then by the time you got all the mechanics in place, sometimes it would have been better just to shoot it with a tag. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that's a lot of things in N3, those kind of boogeyman interactions that often just were the bark was way worse than the bite.
Yeah, definitely. Like if you think about it, in the single interaction in isolation, it seems really broken. But when you put it in the context of a full game and how much setup it needs or whatever, it's a mountain out of a molehill.
Yeah.
But I guess, it triggered that one thing Infinity tries to avoid, and which is like a one-sided situation where you can't really do anything fair.
Yeah.
So it kind of creates an outlier, really.
You could dodge against a Shin.
Absolutely. That's all you can do, right? You're kind of forced.
Well, back then it was change face. So you just like stand on the spot, wouldn't you?
No, I think versus the one trick, you could actually dodge because you gained a line of fire when it shot at you, and you didn't have an ARO before it shot at you. It's only if you were
was it?
Yeah, because if you were in zone of control and smoke, you'd activate, and then all they could do is change face. But if you're outside zone of control with smoke, they couldn't see you, so they didn't get an arrow. And then when you shot at them, they could dodge on flats, not even with a negative. So it wasn't as bad as the Kodali within zone of control or the Rushi.
The Rushi.
I thought it was the other trick. I'm thinking of the other one where you put the smoke in the Shen in this N3. This extremely irrelevant. Fast forward 15 seconds. But the point is, you throw smoke in your Shen. You'd move. The mad trap would be out of the smoke. It would move. They have to react to the mad trap. So they can only dodge.
In that case, they could dodge against the mad trap.
Yeah, they dodge against the mad trap, and then the Shen just pummels them with 4 dice for free.
Yeah, but they still get the face to
but it's risk free, I guess.
It's just that the Shen couldn't die, basically.
That's right. It's the
which was an awful dirty trick, but
no.
It had limited application,
and it cost a lot.
Yeah, it was, but I'm glad that a lot of those negative play interactions have disappeared in N4. So it's good.
Sure. But the negative players are still here, so.
What are you talking about, Val? You are the most positive Infinity player I've ever met. You're super positive. You're not negative
at
all.
I was more having a dig at Lachlan, but that's fine. But yeah, look, I'll take compliments. If I fished a compliment out of that, I'll take it.
Look, if you make me laugh, it's all good.
I'll remember that if I ever play you. So we'll get through some of the announcements before we get into the meat of the episode. For those of you who are into our challenges, we're like I say, we're like now on the 3/4 of the way through June, and it's conveniently talking about avatars. We're talking about tag challenges this month. So tag you're it. So it's all about running tags, tags. Use tags in your games. Tell us what you think of them. Tell us if you think they're broken. Tell if you think they're underpowered. Tell us why you would include a tag in your list. Why wouldn't you include a tag in the list? And also, how would you deal with a tag if you were faced against it at a tournament? So as always, write in your responses to us at lossoflieutenant@gmail.com. Shoot it in a Google Doc. Pictures and or video entrants are also super welcome. Really helps bring it all together. And a random winner will be decided at the end of the month to win a blister of their choice from Toy Soldier Imports. Val, did you have anything else you want to say about that? I know we mentioned it in the last episode.
Yeah. Depending when the episode drops, but we have a tournament in Geelong, which is encouraging tags. It's basically Armory, Annihilation, Deadly Dance are the 3 missions, and we're encouraging tags. And hopefully, if this episode drops and you hear it and you have nothing to do on Sunday the 26th, come on down.
Yeah, so that's what's the name of the event?
It's called codename New Blood, and it's in Throw the Dice in Geelong.
New Blood. Does that have any meaning except that it's
it's being run by some of the locals, basically because I've moved away from Geelong. I'm taking less responsibility of the scene just because I'm not living there, so it's a bit hard. So we're just getting some new TOs in there, trying to pass the lantern a little bit.
Oh, cool. So who's running it there?
It'll be this one. It'll probably be either Wade or Josh. It'll be me, but with Wade and Josh helping out, sort of deal, and getting a feel for it.
Josh. Which one's Josh?
Josh L. He plays Tunguska begrudgingly, and he also plays military orders. He's picked up military orders just because he picked up Tunguska and he's having a lot of trouble. So he's gone to pick up some Pano.
Yeah, if in doubt,
use the load.
If in doubt, hit it with a big sword and big bullets. That's how you do it.
Exactly right.
All right, cool. So yeah, you got the end of the month for that one, and then at the end of this month as well will be the end of our quarterly Patreon sign up. So if you can sign up before the end of this month, you go into the draw to win a small box of your choice, and also our Eternal Gratitude. For $3 a month, you get to sit in on these live Discord shows. You get to ask questions to our guests and to us, and also you get basically you get a bit of a sneak peek into the inner machinations of Loss of Lieutenant. Spoiler alert, there's not much professionalism going on here, but but we do enjoy having an audience, and we do enjoy listening and hearing your thoughts. So yeah, join our Patreon. There'll be a link in the show notes, and we really appreciate all the support. So we've also got a bit of an event announcement. So we have got ECM 2022, which stands for Elite Command Melbourne. Really delighted this is back after a few years hiatus because of COVID. This is the premier 400-point limited insertion event happening in Melbourne, Kathleen Sim Library on the 24th of July. That's a Sunday for those people who don't know dates. It's awesome. It's 400 points. It's $30 and it's 4 rounds. So we used to run this a lot in N3, and it was hella fun. And we haven't tried it in N4 yet because of COVID. But Ryan Kirby's running that one here, and it's looking like it's gonna be a killer day.
I absolutely can't wait for that. It's so good. I'm hyping up the Geelong guys, and I just mentioned the chat, and one of them was like, "Oh yes, it's like," I'm like, guys, you have to think about this from my list building point of view. And someone started like making a list and like, "Oh my god, I can fit 3 Asuras. I can have an Asura Harris." I'm like, yes, you can.
And a little bit of an extra for this mission, this tournament as always, Ryan adds Soldiers of Fortune to the lineup. But in this time, what's happening is he's actually auctioning off Soldiers of Fortune. So what happens, each merc will be auctioned off with the highest bidder allowed to use them in their lists. So if you, for instance, want to use Yojimbo and you want to pay, like, say, $5 to use them in your games, and someone says, "Oh no, I'll do $6," and then 7, 8, 9, 10, whatever, the highest bidder gets to use them in their games, with all proceeds going to the Royal Women's Hospital in Melbourne. So really awesome cause, really awesome way to get people to like try to outbid for using mercs. So you can imagine what mercenaries might be useful in 400 points, like Yojimbo, obviously, so you can put smoke into Pano, McMurrow, Uhahu would be really cool as well. Yan Yans, although I don't know how you'd fit an 8-point Yan Yan into a 10-order combat group, but maybe. Lachlan, is there any mercs that you might, at top of your head, that you'd love to include in your games?
Yan Yan would be the top, probably.
Yeah, Yan Yans are pretty great.
Now for sure.
Yeah.
Fuck yeah, Nauf. Oh yeah.
Fucking
Right.
Imagine adding Nauf to a combined army list that already. Actually, do Nauf? Did combined army get Nauf?
Oh, I don't know, but whoever gets Nauf should take it, because burst 3, MSV 1 or whatever, sniper rifles.
I mean, it's
no joke.
I mean, it's kind of competing with the Yoga actually at that
Yeah,
point.
I was about to say, what do you want that when you got a burst 4 Yelgat?
Yeah.
Well, you can't. Yeah.
Also,
yeah,
burst 4 Yelgat. Spoiler alert for later.
There you go. Yes. I was also going to say, the best part about that whole thing, aside from the donations to the worthy cause, is the fact that you're only going to face one McMurrow and one Saito Togang, because obviously there's only going to be run by the winner.
That's a good point. Yeah. So in years gone by, because it's like the third or fourth time ECM's ran, and one of the one of the common things you see here is, because everyone can use Soldiers of Fortune, what ends up happening is everyone just runs McMurrow and or Yojimbo in all the lists. So you end up with like 8 guys and then Yojimbo and McMurrow. But now that there's only 1 per army and it's the highest bidders, like you say, you're not gonna face 4 McMurrows.
Exactly right. Yeah.
Yeah,
it's a really good idea from Ryan. Yeah,
so that creates a really cool little little bidding war going on as well. And the 4 missions are looting and sabotage, firefight, decapitation, and annihilation. It's gonna be a full ass day. I think it starts at like 7:30 in the morning, so it can be finished like at a reasonable time. But it's right in the heart. It's right in the city. So like, there's usually a good pub lunch on after round 1 or 2. I think Ryan's even putting on a morning tea, so that'll be nice and fun as well. And and obviously Ryan is a fantastic TO, so get on down to that. You can there's an event page on Facebook, or you can chuck him $30 dues on PayPal. We'll put the email address and the link up in the show notes if anyone is in Melbourne or Victoria and is interested in coming along.
Indeed.
And then, secondly, we've got a reminder for Burn City Brawl 2022 happening the second time this year, happening on the 17th and 18th of September in the Collingwood Masonic Centre. The missions have just dropped. The organisers announced them a few nights ago. So they are Unmasking, Acquisition, Firefight, Mindwipe, and Frontline. Tickets are $60 until the end of June, and then they go up to $65 at the end of after June. The player cap, I think it's 60 players. We had 40 earlier on in the year, so we're trying to increase it by another 50%. Get 60 in there, and hopefully get a few more interstate players. Lachlan, are you keen to come down?
I am keen. It's just a little bit hard sometimes to get the pass from the family.
Yeah.
Of course. Well, you know who can come down, and seeing as they've got some airline credits, the Transmission Matrix boys, I think. No excuses there, mate.
Are we going to allow them into the state though? Like,
I'd welcome them, man. I'd welcome them.
Oh no, of course. You know, you are, like I say, you're a very welcoming man. No, I absolutely would love to see those guys come down. Anyone. We've already got a couple of people from WA confirmed coming. A couple of people from Tassie coming. I'm sure we can convince a few folk from New South Wales and the ACT to come along as well. A couple of people from SA are coming as well. So we're already looking at like half a dozen or more interstate players for this event.
Hopefully a couple of people from Geelong as well.
Well, hopefully more than a couple of people. Val, come on, mate. I know you're not there anymore, but you're still the guy. You're still the guy for the West.
We'll see.
The state is like just seeing the guys from WA and SA. Like the guys from WA are so lovely.
They are. They really, really are.
Absolutely, yeah. It's been so long since we've seen them. It's been so long since we've seen them, so it would be great to have them over. Although I think one of the WA guys did just come over to Melbourne a few weeks ago. I think he was there for work or something, and our local Ben gave him a game at I think it was at Westgate War Games, and promptly destroyed him. So
that was a nice welcome.
Yeah, I know. Like Ben was posting photos in the chat, and the first photo he posted was a picture of a Moran within zone of control of a Kriza Borak and a Crazy Koala, and I was like, how did that get there? And he was like, I rolled for it. I'm like, you fucker. Like, just over-infiltrated a Moran right next to his Kriza, and then went first.
Control tactics.
Yeah, right? Yeah. So I was like,
disgusting.
I was like, Ben, mate, come on. Be nice.
One of the best games I've ever had was against James Higgins from WA.
Yeah, that's who it was.
Yeah, I think it was, yeah.
It was James Higgins, yeah.
Yeah, he's an awesome guy.
Oh, he's lovely. Yeah, absolutely. So, I think, is there any other events that we should be shouting out, Val, before I move on?
There's also All Systems Go in Geelong. That's basically a con that's been put on by Throw the Dice. That's in August, but I'll have more details in the coming episodes. But yeah, keep an eye out for that. Well,
I'm really impressed with the amount of events that are coming out of Geelong. It's turning into its own little meta, which is great.
Yeah, no, absolutely. No. So yeah, there's a lot happening. Good times.
Yeah, sweet. All right, well, we'll get into it then, shall we? Excuse me. So for our audio only listeners, we do have we're obviously casting this to YouTube as well, so for the video content, but currently it's just my face, Lachlan's face, and a picture of a shiny red avatar on the screen, just for everyone to know what this episode's going to be about. And you can already hear the sighs coming from Lachlan going, I've fucking heard enough about this bloody avatar. Let me say my piece.
It's not me that has, it's everybody else that has.
I know. Well, this is your time. This is your time to set the record straight and not have other people talk for you or take look too much into the stats. But before we get into the Novacore itself, let's get a little bit of information from yourself, because I don't know, have you been on any of the podcasts before or White Noise when that was around?
Yeah, I was on White Noise a long time ago, talking about Val, you cut
I'd sell a kidney to be on White Noise, I tell you what.
He can't fucking help himself, can he?
Yeah, like ages and ages ago, I did an episode about Bakun, and me and Ben are good mates. So.
Yeah, Ben's fantastic, and I'm looking forward to the day he comes back into the game.
He's moving to the Middle East, I think, so it might be a while.
Oh no! Oh no!
Yeah.
maybe they play.
Yeah, I forget which Middle Eastern country, but it's one of them.
Jeez, that's big.
Well,
Yeah.
he might be a bit closer to Europe. Maybe he can head over there.
Yeah.
All right. Excuse me. So, Lachlan, so we know that you're. We assume you are originally from Sydney.
I am.
Born and raised, been there your whole life.
Yeah, born in the. Brought up in the Blue Mountains and live in the inner west now. Yeah.
Yeah, right. And what got you into wargaming?
Same as everybody else. Got sucked into Warhammer when I was like, I don't know, mid-teens, and then discovered girls, and then left it behind for a while, and then I got back into it. I think I was watching a YouTube video of Mickey Ward. Actually, just sort of came up, and it was Infinity bat reps from a CanCon in maybe like 2015 or something like that, and it just looked really cool, and so. Here I am.
Shout out to Mickey Ward. He was at Novacore as well, wasn't he?
I think he was. I didn't actually see him. I didn't think.
See him either.
There was a lot of people there, and I just didn't see everybody. Yeah, there's a lot of people. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I saw his. I can't remember what his ITS handle is, but I think I saw what I think is his ITS handle.
Is it Leviathan?
Yeah, it might be. I can't remember exactly, but I'm pretty sure I noted, oh, Mickey's here. Like, he's the guy that got me. I've never met him in person before. I should have sought him out.
Yeah, I think I'm the same. I was like, wait a minute, Mickey, I know that name from like IA, from the Facebook group.
He used to do these really cool like targeting graphics and stuff on his bat reps. Yeah, it was really good.
I'll have to dig them up. Actually, that's a good thing.
Yeah, that would be cool.
So you mentioned 2015. Was that when you got into Infinity?
I'm not sure if it was then. Whenever I got into it, just after N3 came out, like I bought the Nomads starter, and I remember the guys at the club saying the new one or the old one because it had literally just come out. So it was just after N3 dropped that I got into it.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So what was?
That might have been 2016, maybe.
Yeah, I think that 2016, 2017 was when I got into it, and I think I got into it in HSN 3, so 2016 sounds about right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was like the Coldstrom, was it? Was that the one? No.
Yeah, Cold.
Ice Storm.
Ice Storm.
And it had the Father Knight in it. And,
yeah, that's the one.
And so you picked up the Nomad side, half?
No, I actually bought the box that was half of it. I really should have bought that bigger box, but I didn't know better, so I just bought the single box.
Yeah, right. So you're saying that Nomads were your first army for.
Definitely, I'm well known for, I guess, at our club for being a Nomads player. Although I pretty much got everybody except for maybe Tohar, I guess.
Yeah, right. So do you play the Nomad Sectorials, or was it a vanilla thing for you mostly?
Mainly I probably played Bakunin more than anything else, but I played a fair bit of Corregidor, and then a bit of Hack, and a bit of Aleph, and a bit of Combined, and a bit of
Yeah, right. So yeah, okay.
Yeah, Bakunin's probably my first love because Uberfalls, I loved them before they were cool and terrible and broken. Although they were just as good, to be honest. But yeah,
they're still pretty excellent. So what was it that drew you into Infinity?
I don't know. It just looked like a cooler game with fewer models. Maybe just the models and like the way Mickey Ward described it in his bat reps with the AROs, like everybody else said. It just seemed like a cool game, and I figured out they were playing it at Town Hall at Good Games there, and so I showed up one night, and Alistair gave me a demo, and that was it.
Yeah, so shout out to Alistair. Alistair,
My fifth round opponent, I believe.
No, he doesn't play anymore. That's a different Alex there. I forget his last name. I'll find out that for you though. He's like the guy. Him and a friend of his basically started the Sith Club in Sydney, just by showing up every week a long time ago, and that was that. Oh, what is his last name? He lives like not that far from me. He'll kill me. Really, DLUI. He's one of the walkers for Sydney, but he had a kid and he's not very active. I think he's going to come back soon. Maybe he keeps on threatening to.
Yeah, there you go.
And how have you been finding N4 and then with the recent Fireteam changes?
Oh, this is a little bit controversial. This is where we get into the whole meat of the episode in some ways. I like the idea of the Fireteam changes. Like CB in general, I think they're a little bit maybe more complex than they even needed to be. But I like the balance change and the way they made flexibility without just having the one guy who's super powerful in a link team of cheerleaders or whatever. The problem is, I think that tags were already probably a little bit stronger than fire teams, and overall the fire team changes a nerf to fire teams, and so that has exacerbated the fact that tags are probably better than fire teams, and which pushes very competitive players more towards vanilla, in my opinion.
This is bullshit, Kevin. We should have screened him before we let him on this episode. This is everything's perfect that CB does. CB never makes mistakes. Everything's perfect. It's a better edition. All for the best. No, that's a really good pickup though. No, genuinely, jokes aside, of course. That actually is, yeah. And I think we're kind of seeing that across the board where a lot more tags are being run. And I think the change to fire teams has been really great because they haven't taken away that ability to mix the links, but they've also toned it down a little bit. So it hasn't changed how people play, but they haven't had the desired effect where you're not having that same style link team all the time. So, yeah. But yeah,
it's good if anything that makes there not be one solved solution. Like one of the best things about Infinity and what's kept me in the game, I think, is I've spent years trying to solve it, like have the ultimate best list, and I've never found that, maybe until now. But every time I try and find a way to break the game and make the ultimate unbeatable list, somebody shows me something that beats it.
I think I think one of the things that we discussed a bit at the onset of N4 was somewhat controversially was like, in 3 months the whole thing will settle down and there will be the new powerhouse. And I was like, I don't think so. I think there's a lot, there's a lot in here that to play with. N3 took a long time, I think, to settle down, and even then there was lots of additions and changes and CB, injecting new flavor to it that it never really got to a point of like solved, as you say. And then N4 has so many options, but you're right, the fire teams felt like they're a little bit solved, like 4 mooks and 1 big gun. Now this change has kind of brought on this new way of building links that kind of removes the min-max a little bit from it. So now,
and I'm sure we'll find it eventually, but at least for the moment, it's new and interesting and different, and people are bringing essentially 2 Harrises and like all sorts of different stuff. It's really good.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with the company moving the goalposts, keep things fresh, as long as it's not every 3 months, right? And that's something you can't accuse the CB of doing. They move the goalposts when it's needed, but it's done over reasonable amount of time where people get to enjoy the game in a stable kind of environment.
I found my perfect list. That's when they change it, and that's about when they should, I think.
So, exactly right. I agree, and it's like same as I think the biggest shift in N3 was the Kamau link team. The Kamau, when they introduced the Kamau having the MSV2
Oh my
the Hey
God.
Dow, the Kamau and stuff like that.
We did a whole
massive change.
episode on that way back
Yeah.
when I'm pretty sure we entitled the Kamau sniper and why it's broken. Just as as a bit of a
I mean, I was a big. This might touch on stuff we might talk about later. I was a big the Kamau is too strong person. So I don't know. But then things changed, right? Then 3 months later, they were giving everything Nimbus grenades, which were a good counter to Kamau. So
Yeah. And then sorry. I guess second to last question is: do you? We were talking before the start of the show, but do you play any other games other than Infinity?
I do. Infinity is probably my main game. I've played a bit of Song of Ice and Fire, but Lockie Carter thrashes me too bad at it, and so does Jordan, and so I can't stand it. So I play that.
Can't stand losing.
Well, actually, it's not so much. I actually like losing. Like, to be honest, the games that I lose are often my favorite games because I learn something from them. But when you get to the point where somebody is so much better than you, you don't really feel like you're learning something, and you feel like you're just getting beat up for 2 hours, and punching yourself in the head would probably be more enjoyable. Then it's like you sort of need to find somebody on your level to level up together,
Yeah,
that's important.
I get what you mean.
Also, I've painted some Bushido because they look like Avatar, and my girls are really into Avatar, but I haven't played it yet.
I've heard good things about Bushido. Actually, it's there's lots of options out there and lots of good miniatures too.
It's got a cool mechanic where you have to like scissors, paper, rock almost. How many attack dice you throw versus how many defense dice, which sounds interesting, but I haven't actually experienced it yet.
Yeah, heard good things. And then last question, because people on the internet will want to know. They will want to know. It's like, who is this guy? Who is this guy who just ran an avatar, just won this casual? This is a casual ass Australia tournament. No one knows who this person is. Whatever. So, so I have to ask, what is your ITS record like for this? I guess this season and previous seasons.
I think my ITS are pretty good at the moment. Like, I think I had a look after the tournament, and I think I was rated like 18th in the world and highest Aussie at the moment, not for long. And I don't think that really means that much because some really good players don't play that many ITS. I've won, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 smaller ITS events, including one a few weeks before Novacore that Gideon ran at Combat Company, which is good. And I had previously played top table at CanCon versus Rory in 2017, I think.
Right, there you go, listeners.
I was going to ask.
We know Lachlan's credentials are accurate, so we can't just dismiss this as a nothing event.
That's exactly right.
What a big event I've been, the top 10, 15 would be fairly typical.
Yeah, right. I was going to ask what your track record was at CanCon, because that was kind of like the main event for quite a while until maybe 2019 when things really started kicking off.
The last Novacore, I think I played Trent from WA, who's an awesome player as well.
He's really good. Yeah.
And we were both undefeated. Lockie and Rob Cantrell were playing top table, and then we were playing the second table, and then he beat me then. So that was like, the kind of result. Like, I'm often up in the mix, but not necessarily winning very consistently. Like Gav did that year where he won everything.
Yes.
Yeah. That year he's like just hang his boots up and just sit back.
Yeah.
Take a screenshot of number 1 in the world and then stop playing.
And then you've got nothing to prove for the rest of your life.
Yeah, exactly. Is there any other just quick fire questions you want to throw towards Lachlan? We might go for a quick break before we go back and get into the meat of the episode. Val?
No, Lachlan, that's all good. I'm pretty keen to crack in.
Yeah. Now we will have questions from our Patreons, but we'll probably leave them to the end because they're quite we'll probably answer them as we go along the chat. But we'll if that's all right with you, Lockie, we'll just head off for a quick break, and we'll be right back. Okay, listeners, and we're back after that very short break, and we're gonna get into Novacore 2022, and just find out how Lachlan went at the event and what he thought of it. So, well, we'll start from the beginning, kind of what we did in the last episode. So, just kind of get how you managed to get to Novacore, your preparation for the event, and your thought process behind the lists.
Well, getting to the event is fairly easy for me because I lived in Sydney, so it's about a 2-hour drive. So I just drove up myself and stayed at the Imperial across the road, as a few other people did. A bit of the Melbourne crew, I think, stayed there.
Yeah, actually, what did you think of the Imperial? I took one look at the website and was like, I'm going to get an Airbnb.
Melbourne snob, but yeah, me too.
Pretty much.
Well, the main benefit to me was cheapness, so that if
it was cheap.
I don't know. It was cheap and it was close, and it wasn't fancy. But I don't really need fancy, so it was fine.
Stumbling distance from the venue, which is handy.
Very much so. It can be mentally exhausting. Infinities.
Quick segue actually, but I don't know if you were there. You must have been there, I guess. But when we barged in on Saturday night, a bit drunk, trying to look for Rob's room. I don't know if you were awake then or not.
I did not hear it, but it sounds like I should have. I brought earplugs specifically because I thought it'd be noisy above a pub, so I was in blissful unawareness.
Wait, was I there?
I think you were there. I think we went up there because Danny and Josh were staying, and we were gonna go up to get some board games or some beers. And then you were definitely there because you were laying treats out for Rob. like a reverse Santa. Like here's some breadcrumbs and here's the window and maybe I don't know what you were trying to do. And it was the wrong room anyway, so it didn't matter.
Yeah, I think I was trying to lure him out of his room. Yeah, that's right.
Like a mouse. Like I don't understand.
Yeah. I don't know where I was leading him to. I wanted him out. Yeah, I wanted to come out. For sure, yeah.
Rob, come out. I think he was pretty tired at the end of the day. I saw him on the stairs at one stage, and I was like, "How are you, Rob?" And he's like, "Tired."
Yeah, no, fair enough. That's
yeah. So anyway, I just remembered that in my mind, just like Val leaving, trying to lure Rob out of the wrong room and going, "He's not even in that room, dude. Let's go. Let's stop annoying the New South Welshmen. They're trying to play Magic."
They were, weren't they? Yes, I remember that now.
So anyway, so you drove up by yourself to Sydney, from Sydney, stayed at the Imperial.
Yeah.
You got there on the Friday night. Did you help set up the tables at all, or were you?
No, I got there early Saturday morning.
Right. On the day off. Oh, that's a good job. It was
the last Novacore in 2019 or whatever. The deal with my wife was that I could go, but I had to come back each night. So I drove back.
And
then drove back. And I was so shattered the last day. Like that last game with Trent was so I wasn't even there.
Oh,
jeez,
no.
Louise.
That's a tight schedule.
Yeah.
So I did not do that this time. I slept there and I was very well rested. Thank you very much for the second day.
Jeez, I was going to say, I think you need to renegotiate your contract there.
Well, I have since done so and it had a better result. So
it's true, actually. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So how many from New South Wales went up for the event in total? Do you recall? Or from Sydney, I guess, more specifically.
I would say 30 or 40, maybe. That would be my guess.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense because there was 14 of us plus, I don't know, half a dozen Queenslanders, a couple of Tassies, one from South Australia. So yeah, that's about right. Yeah.
A lot of that. There's a big scene in Newcastle, largely thanks to Gav. So I don't know if they've got more players than Sydney at this point, but they certainly have yeah, they've got a big, strong, tight knit. And they're very good at the game.
Yeah. Most
I
of the
remember
people I
we
bumped
used to
into
go
were
up there, and we like the Sydney guys would not lose, and that has very much changed.
This is what you're going to hope to happen in Geelong, Val.
Mate, it pretty much has happened. Wade, our local JSA player, Wade, is basically undefeated against in the last 2 events. So yeah, basically he's got it on lock.
That's exciting. Okay, so yeah, so you made it up there Saturday morning, rocked up into Good Games Maitland, and I mean, I guess before we get into the first game, let's talk about your lists and why you decided to take what you took.
Okay, well, I started with Combined Army, I don't know, a few months ago after tooling around with Nomads in N4. I guess maybe the impetus was that I thought that tags were very strong in N4, as we talked about with the fire team sort of thing. And I thought Rem Prez tags were probably the most powerful, and I didn't want to play Pano, and LF only has one of them, whereas Combine has a good selection. And I had a Combine Army in N3, but I didn't have tags, so I got some tags and went from there. That's the combined thing. And then for Novacore, I guess the impetus was probably getting into an argument with Gav and Julian and Lockie Carter in the Infinity Australia chat about whether tags were too strong enough, and stirring shit with Lockie Carter a little bit, which it's kind of a pastime at Sith, or it has been in the past.
Great.
Because he'd played Briz Open with double Yodam, and he was saying that tags were fine, and I made a joke that was like, "Oh, the guy with playing double Yodam thinks tags are fine," and a couple of them got the shits with me about it and thought I was being mean to him. I was really only,
just very.
And they, Gav and Julian basically told me I shouldn't say things. I should just take tags and prove my point with my gameplay. So I was like, well, and I'd actually won a tournament, a smaller one with a Sphinx anathematic list and an avatar in my second list, but I didn't play the avatar.
Gross.
And I was like, okay, well then I'll bring an avatar to Novacore and we'll see how it goes. Especially since Gav said it was supposed to be hostile to tags. I was like,
he did.
Well, let's prove a point. And then the second thing is, I was going to bring an anathematic Sphinx list for the second list to play countermeasures and stuff because the anathematic's so good at classifieds. But then I realised that I could have pun names for my courtesy list. If I brought 2 avatars, so I could call it my other list is an avatar and my other list is an avatar 2. And I thought I amused myself. Even more than anything else, I didn't really think that I would win the event or even necessarily go close. Partially because sometimes you just get a table that is quite hostile to tags. There's nowhere to hide it in your second turn or whatever. But I just thought it was funny and it'd be cool if I could do well with it. So that's what I did.
Yeah.
Did the missions not hinder your? I guess didn't make you second guess that whether to take tags and an avatar in both lists, because that's like 139 points off the top of my head.
Avatar's only 118.
118. It used to be 130 in 3.
Yeah, it came down in cost and got better.
Yeah, mate. Fucking
wheat.
So, actually, to that question, and Rob Cantrell made this point, and I found it in list building. I was originally writing before that argument. I was writing anathematic Sphinx or anathematic Carrington, like he took.
So you would have come second then, just because he came second. So I just want to have a go. Go on.
Look, if I faced him, regardless, I wasn't going first, I think. But actually, the avatar is quite suited to these missions, because they're very order intense, and the avatar actually, strangely, gives you a lot of orders.
Yeah, 4
and when
orders
I
by
actually
himself.
wrote, when I actually wrote the second list to see if I could write an avatar list that could do countermeasures, I was like, actually, this is awesome because I can cover almost all the classifieds, and I've got like 13 orders in Group 1. So, like, my awesome special have awesome amount of orders to both kill things and push buttons. So it actually worked quite well.
Yeah.
Very good pickup.
Let's get into these lists then. So I've got my other list as an avatar up on the screen at the moment. So with what you've said, do you want to break down that list and just kind of talk about what's in it, what you wanted to run it for, and why you chose the units that you chose? Because do find avatars are I think they're one of the most limited lists that you can build, because obviously he takes up over a third of your army by himself. That your other units you're limited in what your other picks are.
Yeah, and that's what I was surprised about, actually, that I could fit everything in it that I wanted really to make countermeasures work, or enough. So anyway, I'll just name everything that's in the list for people who are listening and can't see it.
Yeah.
That's Avatar, Imatron, Icadron, Norkius, the killer hacker, but not lieutenant, mentor hacker, medtech, Dr. Worm, 2 slave drones, R drone, and a grief bot. And then in Group 2, 2 Gakis and 3 Tigers with DACCWs. And just to compare that to the second list is something that is pretty similar, but has
bring that up as well. Let me just bring that up for our listeners, or not our listeners, our viewers. So this is my other list is an Avatar 2.
Yes.
Which is also
so basically, bad puns are us. So basically, the second list just swaps the grief off for a speculo killer, the mentor for a shrouded hacker, and because the speculo is a bit more expensive than the grief off, I drop a slave drone and drop a tiger, and then 2 tigers that are left become shock. I don't know if there's a plane going over me.
Yeah, it's kind of interfering with the audio, so we'll wait for that to disappear.
Perils of living in the inner west. Yeah, so basically, speculo instead of grief op, shrouded instead of mentor, only 1 slave drone, and drop a tiger, and both the tigers become AP shock instead of DA. Okay. So they're pretty similar lists, and that's something that I learned from Rory, the great Queensland player, who often, or said to me at least, he often takes 2 lists that are almost the same, just because you become so familiar with that list that it becomes muscle memory, and you know how to deal with everything. Whereas if you swap lists, you've got a whole new thing to learn, and he schooled me in that when I swapped the list to play him top table at CanCon in 2017. So
what was the thought process? Obviously the avatars, there's not really, you've kind of already explained why you took the avatar, but things that I'd like to draw people's attention to, that I would like to know a bit more about, is things like the mentor, Norkius, the grief operator, and then of course the 3 tigers and the 2 Gakis are pretty self-explanatory, but so
that's how they
like something. So, sorry, go ahead.
I guess the general plan of the list, right, is the avatar shoots at it. I try and get first turn, although I think it plays okay second. Either of the lists play okay second or first. But generally, I'm more often going to be playing the grief op mentor list, with the idea of the avatar having whip 17, so winning a lot of lieutenant roles, and then probably going first. And if I get to go first, then the avatar shoots everything that it can shoot. And then with what orders are left, Norkius runs across the board and either pushes buttons or kills things or both. Norkiss is extremely good at killing things and quite good at killing things that are a threat to the avatar. Because he's a whip 15 killer hacker, he can often just run across the board, get in zone of control of an enemy hacker, which is one of the things that the avatar doesn't like, and just kill it. And he has a cyber mask that helps him get across there. He can often get into close combat and gain 2 wounds, and then go into cyber mask himself, and that gives your opponent a problem that they have to solve before they even think about coming and attacking the rest of your list. The mentor is there, I guess, because I was expecting to be able to get first turn quite a lot. And obviously, you've got the 13 orders basically with the avatar, the 10 orders, and then 2 lieutenant orders that become regular and attack aware. And that just enhances that capacity. But not... it's also important that mentor is 14 BTS 6 hacker, which is quite good at defending the avatar from a push at it with hackers, as is Norkiss, I guess.
Yeah, and the fact that it's 1 point more.
Sorry,
it's the fact that it's 1 point more than a shrouded gives you a higher willpower, 2 cam markers, and as counterintelligence, I think is really, really, really good.
And if you ever lose the avatar, it's a perfect lieutenant for the thing.
For the
Monica.
I mean, Norkiss is probably maybe a better candidate, but yeah, that's
true. Fair.
Depends. Norkiss can get killed fairly easily, and the mentor less so. I mean, the shrouded has the advantage of being in the midfield, and I guess the second list was more intended for supremacy,
supplies and supremacy.
No, just supremacy probably.
Okay.
Because the specular goes, in a quadrant is more points.
Yeah.
And retain those points even if it's unconscious. The other thing that could be a consideration is classifieds. There's a couple of classifieds that the grief up can get almost immediately.
Absolutely, yeah. The decharge
one. And the MSV one at an enemy HVT.
Mm-hmm.
And net undermine. Oh no, he's not. He's not veteran. No. Veteran. No,
yeah, and then there's a couple of different ones that are elite troopers, which the speculo. There's one that it can get really easily, and there's a couple of others that are a little bit harder for it, but it can do. And so what classifieds can factor into it. But basically, my plan was to play the second list with the speculo and supremacy, and the grief op list and everything else, which is what ended up happening.
And I noticed in the grief op list that you have chosen the 3 taggers with DACC weapons. Was that a conscious decision, or was that just points left over?
It's a bit of both, but I think if you're attacking with the tigers, the DA is super good, because if they're berserking into things, it makes that like way, way more reliable. Mm-hmm. It's super disappointing to berserk your tiger into something and then have it make an armor save and then have it die. Even though it's only 6 points. Obviously, if you're berserking to something, you hope it dies. And then the other thing, I guess, is just the Garkis. That climbing plus on them can be
so good.
Yeah, you could have an extra tiger in there with moving points around, but Morans on roofs and other things. Yeah, that it's really handy to be able to do that, and just also berserking into something and then exploding is quite funny at times. So
yeah,
no, the Garkis, that's the argument that has been kind of a debate that's been had between Garkis and tigers, because we only get Garkis and Morats, and we fucking hate things like Morans and things on roofs.
Yeah.
So having Garkis as like a way to deal with that is so important. So like, sure, tigers are better dodging, better killing. They got a template weapon, but the climbing plus and Garkis give them a very different purpose. And I think having that layer of difference is really important.
It's great to have a mix, I think.
Absolutely, yeah. If you can get both, what you did, it's good.
Yeah, so both lists were designed to do, pretty much the same thing, but the specular list was for supremacy.
supremacy, basically. But if I drew, because you draw the classifieds before you choose which list you take, if I got classifieds that suited the speculo more than the grief op, that might change my decision.
Yeah. I want to quickly ask about your thoughts on going first, because listening to Rob and speaking to Rob on things, a lot of his well, it seemed to be that a lot of his strategy hinged on going first. It sounds like the same for you as well. Was like, how does that feel, that rolling that LT roll? I mean, I know you're whip 17, but you can roll a 1.
You can. I guess I prefer to go first, particularly with this list, because it's so good at killing things. But I actually think both these lists are quite fine at going second. And in fact, I went second in the top table game with Tom, and it worked fine. The Tigers are super good at defending the avatar, and I've got the hackers there to also sort of defend it from like people lobbing pictures at it or whatever. And it's a pretty good ARO piece itself, the avatar, especially if you can deploy it so it can guts back into total cover if it needs to.
Yeah.
I'm pretty comfortable going second with these lists, and I've done it a few times in practice or IGL or whatever, and it's worked great. I just rather go first with it because I guess when you're taking an avatar, you're kind of really anxious of losing the avatar before you use it.
Yeah.
And you I don't know what is going to do that, but I'm sort of constantly living in fear of like deploying it slightly wrong and a Raziak coming behind it, or that sort of thing.
Kitsune.
Yeah, like I think I remember I think it was in WA in 2020. I went over there for work and I ended up playing some games, and I remember playing against a guy who's running an avatar, and he kind of had this anecdote where like like you've got your taggers. And in Mario Kart, you've got like the the shells that revolve around your cart in Mario.
Yeah.
Those are the taggers. Like the taggers just revolve around the avatar, and they just like shoot out and kill whatever the fuck is coming at it.
That's fucking great. No, that's really good.
And the thing that really enables that on the Tigers more than other war bands is the Sixth Sense.
Massively, yeah.
Because so many things that want to come and see your avatar have stealth, and the Tigers just don't care. They can dodge 4 inches, and they can just a couple of games they just chased, for days or whatever around to the extent that it just wasted orders and annoyed them, and just stopped the avatar being in trouble.
Yeah. If you were to get alpha struck, what do you think would be the best thing for your opponent to go after, and or what would you want? What don't you want to lose turn 1 aside from the avatar?
Aside from the avatar is big, I guess, but also Nork is just super important to this list because he's both the main button pusher and the main thing that wants to run across the table and kill the things that you're hiding. So he's quite keystone. And if I go second, he's not actually that hard to kill, right? He's NWI, so he's got 2 wounds effectively, but he's only armor 3 with bio immunity. He's armor 2, BS 3, but he can always count 3. And he doesn't have a template weapon, so nobody really went after him, possibly because I went first a lot. But if you kill him, then my ability to actually complete the mission is definitely very hampered.
Yeah, right. So losing your Greif or your Dr. Worm wouldn't hurt you as much as losing Norkius.
I don't think so. The Greif isn't a specialist.
No.
So often with either of the impersonators, I deploy them from reserve within zone of control of the enemy's HVT, just so I've got at the start of the game at least threaten to secure HVT, and then they can go and do classifieds or kill things or whatever, but they don't have to. They've still got to roll regardless.
Yeah.
Excellent.
I mean, like looking at this, obviously, in total hindsight, and from the high vantage point of talking about your lists, I'd agree that if I were to face this list and I did have the opportunity to go first, if I didn't have a way of dealing with the Avatar, which is most likely I do not, my priority number one would be Narcius. He'd be my guy. He's the guy that I want to get rid of because like like the medtech's almost a bit of a decoy because like like are you gonna need it really, like unless you get oblivioned, the medtech's kind of just hanging out there.
Yeah, and it's nice to have to repair the Avatar if you really need to, but often you don't need to. And to be honest, I took the medtech more because of countermeasures.
Yeah, absolutely.
And normally I'd try and work in the Caliban, I think,
Instead.
engineer, because it has the market state and it's so much harder to kill, and it's just cool because it eats people.
Yeah, no, I had that same thing in my game of countermeasures where I wish I'd taken a medtech because I played Assassins. My opponent just deployed a Fide next to it. I'm like, okay, yep, that's dead. Like, there's just like, I guess I die now. I
hate him so much in a lot of ways. That big base, no matter how well you try and hide him,
yeah,
so often somebody just goes, kill him first order.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So, but before we get into your games, I did want to bring attention to the real reason why we're at Novacore, which is for the Red K Cup. And we had been, 2019 was the last time, or the first time Novacore was run, and we've had COVID, we've had a lot of time between drinks here on with big tournaments like this, and this is like the first big interstate tournament we've had since 2019. So I'd love to know your thoughts, or if you'd really considered it from a New South Wales perspective, like of how the other players were going to go into it, and how you thought you might do, or was it a consideration for you guys?
To be honest, I would have, if you had have given me money to bet and I really wanted to make money, I probably would have bet on the ACT because they just got really, really strong players. But I also know that Tom Bull and, several New South Wales are amazing players as well. But I just feel like those ACT guys have a bit of an aura about them at the moment between, Rob and Ed and quite a few guys down there that seem to play a lot, like 3, 4, 5 times a week or something. Whereas I'm lucky to play every 2 weeks. So I feel like they're just right on the meta, and they know all the rules, and they're just super. Like they like to play the game hard but fair, and they're hard to beat.
You didn't put Victoria into your consideration?
No, I was gonna say, I'm like fucking hell, mixed company here, Lachlan.
First in fun.
Look, I haven't played Victorians that long, and I'm gonna say about Victorians, here's the thing I like about Victorians. I feel like you guys have a very gentlemanly vibe to the way you play.
He's pedaling back. He's look at him chuckle. We're not gonna like bury this episode. We're still gonna publish it. You can be honest, mate. Like, don't worry about it.
I'm being honest, and I think it goes all the way back to Andrew Noakes and Paul Nichols, who pretty much started the scene in Melbourne, as far as I know. And those guys are just such awesome guys, and so into, like you are, Val, into the fun of the game, and not so much.
I'm a competitive player here, Lachlan. What the fuck?
Yes,
I wanted to win.
Right?
Absolutely. Real good.
I'd like to pay tribute. I know Paul's been a little bit sick recently. I talked to him the other day, but he's just the best guy.
Yeah,
I love him.
Yeah, and I haven't really spoken to Paul in a while, but even Noakes, like I haven't played a game with him in since 2019 probably, and then we were running Burn City Brawl in February, and he just came out of the blue going, "Hey, do you want some turrets for the event?" And I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "I'll just print out and paint 40 of them for you." I'm like, "What? What?
That was amazing, yeah."
And he just like rocked up with like. Yeah, just like after like not seeing him for 2 years, just kind of rocks up with like, "Here you go," and we're like, "Fuck!" Like I actually reached out to him like a couple weeks ago, just going, "By the way, I forgot. Maybe I didn't like thank you enough, but thank you so much for that." And he was like, "Don't worry, pay it forward next time."
I mentioned to Paul one time that I was going to start a left, and he just sent me in a left army. Like it just showed up.
All right.
Like, dude, who are you? Like, I don't even ask.
Oh,
man. Yeah, no.
Those guys.
Go. Yeah, no. Some good eggs. good eggs at the start of the scene for sure. So it'd be good to get them back involved as well.
Yeah, so going back there, yeah, so ACT were obviously obvious favourites because they won the cup in 2019, and you had a big crew, you had 40 or so New South Wales players, so you had the pick of the litter, and going into, I guess, the first day, how did you feel going in? Like driving up there from Sydney, were you nervous?
Actually, I feel like in the past I've been really anxious about big events from a couple of different points of view, but both wanting to sort of do my best, but also like there's a tension at competitive events about wanting to win, but also wanting to have good games and be respectful and all those sort of things, and that's something that's made me quite anxious, especially when I was doing well at tournaments.
Mm-hmm.
But I think
hard balance, isn't it?
It so is, and it's so hard to tell when you're being a bit too competitive or not enough, or you're letting yourself being walked over, or vice versa. And I hate the idea that games are decided by the more forceful personality, which sometimes can actually happen, I think. So often I'm quite sort of anxious about the whole thing. But this time I really wasn't intending to try and win the event. Like I didn't really think that 2 avatars would be the thing that did it. Maybe an avatar and an alternate list for a table that didn't suit one. So I said to Tom the day before we had that lunch on the Saturday, and I said to him, look, I think I'd be much happier going like 3-2, like enough to feel like I did okay, but not so much I feel the pressure of it. But this time I was pretty relaxed about it, and maybe that was what helped.
Yeah.
Secret sauce.
Okay, so finally, let's start. So, countermeasures was round 1.
Yep.
Tell us about it.
So I played a Melbourne player, Josh. I think his ITS is just Joshing. Lovely guy.
Yeah, JSA.
You know him.
Yes, we do. We do.
I think I said before the podcast, but I'll say it again. I was very convinced that he was a very experienced player. Because of just how well he understood how the game works in general, like the tactics of it and how he deployed and that sort of thing. Later to discover that maybe he's a little less experienced than I thought. There were a couple of rules that he was convinced of that didn't turn out to be right, and he was so convinced that I was like, hold on, I'm pretty sure I know this. So we just called it together and got it sorted.
We'll just. Do you mind if just what you just to tie a couple of things in? So what you mentioned was earlier about the strong personality winning over sometimes in an event and calling over a TO. So 2 things I think are important here is I think the utilizing TOs I think is an extremely important thing, and I think there's a bit of a stigma that can be sometimes surrounded with calling a TO over.
You know what?
I don't know
I was going to make the same point, Val. When you said you had a game that was a bit tense because you had to call over TO, I wish that wasn't there because I'm relieved to call over a TO.
Absolutely.
Because especially for a line of fire or something like that, which can be a bit subjective, then I know that a neutral person has made the decision, and neither of us is browbeating the other into it, and we just play what that person says. And it makes me less anxious, not more anxious.
Absolutely, and that's what I think that having that that unbiased, objective opinion is just very, very. I think it's a useful tool, and I think more people should be willing to kind of utilize that without that that stigma. It's like, oh, had to call a TO over or something like that. That's not a bad thing. It's just like you have to recognize both of you want to do the best you can, and that may be swaying your view in this situation. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with having a TO come over and make the decision for you, just so you can continue the game with it. And that was my game with Robert Wright. That was like it was tense, but we both appreciate the fact that we wanted to do well, and we both were very happy. Like I spoke to him after the last episode, and we're both very happy with our decision because it just helped us. It told it helped say where things lie, and we just adjusted our decision from there onwards.
And let's face it, human beings are biased. We just are built a bit biased towards our own point of view. So even when you're trying to be as fair as humanly possible, especially in a pressure situation where you want one result, people see their own point of view a bit more. And mostly that's resolved by you both sort of being reasonable people and talking about it and meeting in the middle. But if that is not the case, there were 3 TOs there. It's super easy just to go, hey, Gav, or hey, Nick, or hey, Grady, what do you think about this? Bang, solved, right?
Boom, exactly. No. Really
no,
good,
I think
really
that's
good.
fair. I think it's fair enough to do that. I think there are some times where I've had games where, there'll be a situation of a line of fire is most common, where they'll be like, okay, I move out here and I see this thing, and I'm like, I don't think you can see it from there. And they'll be like, TO, I'm like, hang on. Wait, we haven't even looked at it yet. We haven't even gotten down to eye level. And there's just this kind of this automatic TO comes over. Because sometimes there's more to it than that. Because sometimes the TO as well. I'm not saying the TO always makes the right call, but sometimes the TO just kind of doesn't know the context of a decision as well. I mean, they just say because then they're just like, hey, I want to be able to see this guy from here, and they're like, no, and that's fine. But I just find, if at all possible, work with your opponent first, and if that fails, then move to the TO.
Yeah, exactly. Yep, fair enough. But there should be any stigma around calling TO over.
Oh no, I don't. Yeah, I don't think there should be.
It depends how it's done. If it's done in a super aggressive, this person is cheating kind of way, obviously it's not great. But if it's just, hey Grady, what do you think of this? I don't know. In fact, I had one in with Josh. There was he had a model that was prone. It was near the edge of a bridge or a building or something, and I was convinced that the avatar could see it, and he was convinced that it could not. And we weren't angry or anything. We're both fairly convinced of our point of view, and it's one of those things where you're like, I can totally see that, dude, and he's like, no, you totally can't, dude. And we're like, okay, well. Then Nick came over, and he actually gave a ruling that was different than either of us thought. And
right.
And it was great. Anyway,
and then you just have to play where it lies, right? And that way, at least it's just that's done. We can move on. We just have to play it this way, right?
Yeah, exactly. And in a way, it allows you to continue to be friendly because you have one of you hasn't beaten the other in an argument, right?
Yeah, that's right. You didn't have to roll a dice because sometimes one of the ways people resolve things we'll just roll a dice, odds and evens. I'm like, I don't like that because at the end of the day, just it's one way to resolve. Yeah, I don't like that. Yeah, no? I don't like that, but that's fair enough.
I'm fine with that. If there's especially if it's a casual game, there's just you and me there. I'm like, fucking who's gonna answer this question? The dice will. Okay, it's you can see. Let's go.
Game.
So what did? Oh, sorry.
I just said as long as you're assuming goodwill in each other, you're both trying to be good. Anyway, so what happened in this game basically is what I described essentially earlier. I just happened to draw the 2 classifieds that the Greif could do fairly easily.
What was quickly? What did Josh have roughly in his list that you can remember?
So he played JSA, and he had a Yuri, and he had a Keisotsu link with the guy with the MSV2 marksman rifle. He's not a Keisotsu, is he? There was a missile launch.
Empire or something.
Empire, that's right. And then he had Neko in a weird Harris that I hadn't seen before. It might be new in the fighting changes, with a Karakuri and the engineer character with the mine layer.
Yuriko,
you're right.
Yeah. So that was I thought that was a pretty cool list.
Yeah.
The missile launcher was standing up. We were playing on that beautiful Melbourne table, the prison camp.
Oh, you guys played on my table.
Was that yours?
Yeah, that's my one.
Some people complained about it because of the saturation through the link fence. It's such a gorgeous table, man. You should be really proud of that.
Yeah, it's definitely. I think I said to a few players during the event, it's like it was built for looks, not for playability. Unfortunately,
I thought it played fine. I liked it.
Yeah, it's a bit dense, but I think it plays like you say, there's a atmosphere to it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, it just feels really cool. Feels like Starlog 13 or something. So anyway, I guess to start with, I won the lieutenant role. I went first. I reserved 3 things, which I typically the Greif or the Speculo in the other list, the Avatar and Norcus. And then I placed the Greif in a place where it could do the classified to MSV one of the HVTs, and where it could also decharge a building.
Just quickly, I just want to say how fucking dirty that is. Just being
such a strong start.
Before my reserve drop, here's 2 Imitrons, 2 Igadrons, like 2 camo markers, a med tech, and more warbands. Go fuck yourself. Like, it's basically.
I'm gonna say,
you're literally holding 180 points.
It's so strong mechanically, but there's so many things that you're like, what? I get to do that as well? I get an extra command token, and it's 17, and I can move command groups. What?
Oh, it's so good.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
But it is very useful, of course, because Norcus, I want to place him where he can run across the board and kill things, and the Avatar, I don't want to live in a vulnerable position, and that the impersonator, I want to secure HVT or put it somewhere where it can do some. So basically, unfortunately for Josh, I drew 2 classifieds that the Greif could do. Probably why it's in the list. So first order, it decharged the building. Second order, it MSV'd at a HVT, and I had 2 classifieds in like 2 orders.
Beautiful.
So a beautiful start. And that was my luck the whole tournament, I guess. Just good luck on rolls and good luck on. Oh, there was one game not so much, but and then the Avatar killed a couple of things. It killed the K2 missile launcher. It put the Karakuri, put a wound on that. Killed Yojimbo. The first couple of orders actually, his flashball spot crit the Avatar on 4s and then crit it on 1s, but it made all the same. So we were laughing.
That would have been sweaty bum times there.
Yeah, exactly. Like you're making those BTS rolls and you go, my Avatar gets stunned first order, first game. This is not going well. But unfortunately for Josh, unfortunately for me, it didn't. So I killed a bunch of stuff with the Avatar, did a couple of classifieds, pulled the Avatar back to sort of be covering fire, which I tend to do once I feel like I've got kind of board control. And then it was over to him. He sort of moved around a bit, took some shots, moved the Oyori around, and chased some tigers, kind of chased his Oyori around. And it looked for a firing position, and I think it killed like a flashball spot or something like that, or a Gaki or something like that. And then he kind of left it in an exposed position where it couldn't guts back into total cover.
Right.
So my second turn was basically spent moving the Avatar over and shooting it until it died. And then just moving Norcus into a position centrally in the board where he's kind of prone on a roof, but near Josh's HVTs. So he could stage for my last turn to get some more classifieds. Josh then revealed a ninja behind Norcus.
Oh, yes, Josh. Yes.
Killer hacker. And surprise shot Trinity Norcus.
Yes.
And did not kill him, unfortunately.
Fuck's sake, Josh.
And then was left in the position of whether to do it again. And I think he tried it one more time, but failed again and decided to spend orders doing that.
Sorry, that's just the plane again. Oh, I think I've lost you. Are you there?
No, am I here?
Yeah, you're there. Yep.
Yeah, sorry, perils of inner West Sydney. So after that, he moved Neko's Harris around a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And then the last turn, basically, Norcus jumped down, did a classify on one of the HVTs, ran up, did whatever one that a hacker's got to do in your enemy's half of the table.
Mapping, the fucking bane of my existence, that one.
And did the third one. I think he did 3 classifieds in the last thing. And I got one. I must have got one in my second turn because I ended up with 6. And I think Josh ended up with 1 or 2.
He moved 8, 1 or 8, 2.
Yeah, he moved Neko and the Karakuri Harris up to try and get some in his last turn, but it wasn't that effective, and I think Norcus ended up killing some of getting the classifieds because he's so dangerous at close combat.
Absolutely.
I thought he played really well. He just, the avatar is super strong, and he got a couple of unlucky dice rolls. If he had a stun that to start with, and he had done a bit of damage. It was quite funny at one stage that the tiger's dodging, chasing the Oyori around.
Right.
Is it kind of like vaulted over fences to try and get away from them and shoot them and stuff.
That's pretty.
Okay, so that ended. What was that to you?
8-2,
I think 8-2, something like that. Yeah.
8-2. Okay. Well, actually, something about countermeasures I found interesting was, well, I mean, it was round 1, right? But what I found happening was, even if you were like, not to say not a good player, but even like relatively new players would win quite hard. They would get like a 10-0 win. And some of the more veteran players might only get like a 7 or an 8 win. And that kind of, I don't know, maybe you can see who your second opponent was, but I know that like there was a few players that were like, I did really well in round 1. I got like 10 zip, and then got completely fucking destroyed in round 2, which I guess happens.
Completely destroyed. One thing that Jared Clark from, my God, there's another plane. They're not usually this bad.
That's okay. So, this is probably the best recording we've had for a while. It's been crap the whole time.
But I just wanted to say, Jared Clark from Newcastle taught me a lesson in countermeasures, which was in a tournament a little while ago. I brought a Nomads list with all the specialists to do all the classifieds, Zoe and Pywell and all that. And he just got some Kahu and just smashed me in the face until I couldn't do them. And that's partially what convinced me that you need a big gun in countermeasures, because you can bring all the specialists, but if they just kill them all, you got nothing, and they can do some. So, yeah,
that's a good point. Good point.
It's the old if you disable the enemy's hand, I guess.
Yeah.
Yes.
Absolutely. So okay, so you major on round 1. Round 2, what was it, and who were you playing?
Okay, well, this is where things went a bit wrong for me. I played Hugh from Melbourne.
Oh yeah, he's more player.
Yeah, he's such a cool guy.
Oh yeah,
he's alright.
Such a
Val's just a bit better because he's the better Morat player. That's why.
No, not anymore. Hugh beat me. Hugh beat me 4th round. I've been usurped as the Monkey King.
Oh, that's what I mean. Like Hugh is better than you. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And he was the closest I went to losing. Spoiler alert. He's such a warm-hearted. Like, he's got. Some people have a really good sense of humor, but it's a little bit like hard-edged. But he's got such a warm sense of humor, and just like, he's such a lovely person. You can tell within seconds of meeting him. And we had so much fun in this game. He was inviting me to Melbourne to play another game and stuff like.
Okay, let's just wrap it up on this Hugh love. Okay, can we just wrap it up? We're gonna get to bed here.
So we were playing suppliers, and he was playing Morat, and he had the big boy link, which had the Kaitok, the Suyat with the APHMG, the Yaogat with the MSV2 with Burst 4, which will come up in a minute. He had the Garki Harris and a couple of flash pulse.
Yeah, he's got 2 Ikadrons, a Dataraz. I faced that exact list. So
yeah, I think maybe Anyat's in that list. I don't know.
Yeah, Anyat's in the 5-man link, and then he's got a drop troop, I believe. Spoiler.
Which will also come up. So I won the first turn. We were playing on this table with one of those tables with those square kind of buildings with wide bridges between them.
Mm-hmm.
And he deployed his link team on the ground, just in the shadow zone of a corner of those buildings, which I was a little bit surprised at. But he showed me why. So I just ran the avatar up. Killed a whole bunch of shit, right? Like, I killed the 2 Ikadrons. I killed both Garkis. I put the Kaitok, is that right? The big guy.
Yeah, that's one. Yep.
Yeah, the heavy rocket launcher. I put that unconscious. Put the Suyad unconscious.
Holy shit!
But one thing that was in my way was the Rindak, which was sort of like, on the first story of a building that the avatar was on the second story of. So I had to come quite forward to see it, and it just dodged up the ladder towards the avatar, which is kind of scary because I don't really want it in close combat. And just between the dodge -3 and then the avatar being at close range and that making it -6, and then we made a little rules mistake. I think we thought that the Rindak would get cover while it was on the ladder, which turns out not to be true. You can't get cover.
He's a climbing plus.
Yeah, but because you can't get cover on a vertical surface regardless.
Okay, there you go.
And so but we thought it was. In fact, I thought it wasn't, but Hugh was fairly convinced that it was. And that's one of these things about tournament games. I felt like I was really beating him up, and I didn't really put my foot on his neck about a little thing and call a TO. So I was just like, "Oh, you're probably right."
It's just like one of those things because when you use a ladder, it says in the rules you treat the vertical surface as horizontal. But then in Climbing Plus, I think Climbing Plus, it says you never gain cover from the vertical surface.
No, I think it's the other way around, isn't it?
Or something. It's just a problem with CB inconsistency where it's like I personally believe you should get cover if you're on a wall, regardless. But it's like a kind of like weird, like it sounds like you can if you're using a ladder, but not if you're just using Climbing Plus.
Yeah,
anyway,
I get it.
It's moments like this why Robert Cantrell can't listen to this podcast because he'd be just fucking pulling his hair out. He'd just be like, these fucking idiots. One of them beat me. The other 2 had a podcast for 3 years, and they still can't get the fucking rules right.
That's why we swap out.
Rob Cantrell is far too much of a genteel gentleman to ever think those thoughts.
That's why we swap out a host every year.
Yeah.
Look, regardless, I was firing at -9, so I was on 4 dice on 6s, and he kept on dodging towards me, and I spent like 4 orders or something just trying to put this thing down, and it didn't work. And I think if I was on 9s, we kind of agreed at the end of the game that probably would have made that difference, and we asked Gav about it at the end of the game instead of when we should have, and he said, no, it doesn't get cover. So anyway, that ran me out of order. I ran back, and I thought I killed so much or put it down that there's no way that I had board control, like I had fire control over the board. So, as it turns out, not so cleverly, I put the avatar in suppression fire on top of the building, right? More towards the center of the board, thinking that anything that took it on was just going to die. What I didn't really take account of is A, how many awareness orders he had, and B, how good that freaking Rendak is at reviving things. So I just ran down the side of the building, double medikit the Kaitok and got it back up, double kit the medikit the Suyat HMG and brought that back up, right? He threw smoke from the either the Dalarazi or the and then just put the Yalgat facing my avatar and fired 4 shots through smoke. And
like,
for
he He reformed a 5-man link?
Yeah.
Yep.
So for anybody playing at home, if you want something that an avatar does not like, it does not like being shot through smoke by MSV at all.
Yeah.
Because the MSV ignores its min -6 and imposes a -6 on it for firing through the smoke. So effectively, that's a 12 swing, right?
Yep.
It was not good. It was not good. And I'm like, do I dodge? But I'm in suppression fire, that gives you like a -3 and like, I don't know. Anyway, I was like, fuck it, I'll try and kill you. Sorry, I probably can't say that word, but I did.
No, you absolutely can. Absolutely can.
Hold on, Julian's been on this podcast, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And so he shoots at the avatar and puts it down to 1 wound in 1 shot. And I'm like, what? Because he didn't have that many orders.
Wait,
right? I killed 5 things.
Were you the guy that I walked past the table and was like, okay, so take 8 saves? Because I'm sure that happened at some point.
It could well have been. It could well have been.
Yeah, I was just like, oh no, someone's about to have a bad time.
And then he takes a second shot and puts it 2nd level on combat, to which we're both groaning, right? Because I'm like, oh, my I didn't kill it. And so he'd run out of orders then, right? So the avatar's standing there, unconscious, on top of a building, 1 shot away from death. And then he says, so I'm going to bring something on off the board. And I'm like, what? But if you bring like Moritz don't have hidden deployment, and if you bring a drop trooper, it won't have any orders. He's like, yes, but explode is a thing. So he brings his exploding AD trooper and lands it right next to Dr. Worm, of course. So, and I'm just like, oh, you evil, but clever bastard. Right? It's one of those things that you're like really hating the game, but you like can't help admiring at the same time. You're like, I kind of hope this comes off for you because it's such a cool
fucking brutal. That's so good.
And not only could he catch Dr. Worm, because I had first turn, I didn't really think I had to defend that much. Dr. Worm and the Mentor and an Icodron were all bunched, right? So the Icodron flamethrowers, I think the Mentor probably dodged, and I think Dr. Worm dodged. He stopped landing. Dr. Worm made his dodge. I think he took out the Mentor and the Icodron, and his drop trooper died to the flamethrower.
Victoria was so close.
I mean, super lucky for me, right? Like, I don't know what the odds are between the drop and the explode against the but you got to give it to him for like.
Oh yeah, for trying. Yeah.
Mate, that was the right time to do it if there was ever a time to do it. It was one of those games where you just like both like, and every dice roll and laugh stuff. And yeah, it was really good.
I can just imagine Hugh just being like, yes, but dodge is a thing.
Yeah, that's exactly how we would have put it as well. Yeah. Yes, but explode is a thing. Yeah,
explode is a thing. Explode is a thing. Yeah, explode is a thing.
Fucking hilarious.
Such a genteel way of putting it.
Yeah.
So then, I guess, because Dr. Worm didn't die and he was out of orders, I run Dr. Worm and his slave bot up. I had thought that, I would have fire control at this point and Dr. Worm could just run around and grab all the supply boxes, but it wasn't to be. He heals up the avatar to 2 wounds. Yeah. And then the avatar rises again and enacts some vengeance on the Yalgat. But here is where I think we made a second rules mistake, and I didn't even realize it until somebody mentioned it in the Sith chat the other day, like days after. The avatar shoots at the Yalgat and the Datarazi. I'm not sure if it killed the Datarazi or not, but it puts the Yalgat unconscious. Mm-hmm. However, it shouldn't have put the Yalgat unconscious. It should have killed it because multi-HMGs have shock. I was thinking the Yalgat was an HI like the Kaitok and the Suyat that I put before. So I think I could be wrong. I definitely put it unconscious. I don't think I would have called AP on that shot. It's unlikely.
He has armor 3, but no,
it's
I
armor
doubt
3, but yeah.
Yeah, there's no way Hugh might contradict me and say that I didn't call it AP, but I think we just forgot about the shock.
Mm-hmm.
So I put the Yalgat unconscious. I didn't have, and I think I moved Norkius around a bit, but that was basically my turn, right?
This is supplies. Has anybody got a box yet?
No, nobody's got a box yet.
Fuck. Okay. Wow.
And so you would have obviously spent that first turn or second turn in loss of lieutenant, but you would have had enough command tokens to make that work.
Yes, that's why I had few orders to do it.
Yeah,
I was just thinking I must have had more orders than that, but I can't remember. But that's
why.
Well,
no, you wouldn't have Mnemonica?
No, because he was unconscious.
Yeah, and you can activate Mnemonica then, but correct me if I'm wrong, I think it kills the model that you use Mnemonica on.
Correct.
You can activate it when you go, and I didn't want to kill my avatar.
Yeah,
so
if you use Mnemonica, the avatar dissolves into the ground and then, goes back up into...
Yeah, and you're not in loss of lieutenant.
Yeah.
But also, Imatrons are better. So there's a couple of orders there, and then, I had command tokens, so that's what I did. I use 4 or 5 orders to, heal it up, shoot the Yalgat.
Imatron should not have veteran. Hot take.
Yeah, whatever nerf you want to give CA, I won't argue with you too hard.
No nerfs for CA.
So then, of course, he uses that freaking Rindak to get the Yalgat back up, and this time, fucking kill the avatar, right?
Way, Hugh!
And I'm just okay. But
wait, did you not see that coming?
Well, no, I totally saw it coming. I just didn't want to see it coming.
Fair enough.
So, and then we're so laughing at this game because it's so sweet. Like, my first turn, we both thought he was just getting trashed, and then I thought I was getting trashed, and then I put his Yalgat down, and I thought he was because he could have failed the paramedic role, right?
Cool.
So then my last turn, I've got 1 turn left, and I'm like, oh, fuck this up. I've lost the avatar by putting it in suppression on a roof where it can't guts back into cover. So dumb. But anyway, I'm like, well, I've still got Norkius, right? I'm not in loss of lieutenant because of Mnemonica. And so Norkius just does Norkius things. He just super jumps to 1 objective, kills some. I think he kills the Kaitok and the actually the Kaitok got chain colded by a tiger and died in his turn. And then Norkius jumped around, killed Anyat or something that was on the roof protecting a supply box, grabs 1 supply box, runs over to the second supply box, hands the supply crate that he's got to the Greif operator so he can grab a second one, and then frickin' fails his whip check on my last order to get the second one. I rolled a 19 and needed a 15.
Very
so that was awful. So then Hugh's got a last turn with not too many orders to get that supply box off the Greif operator to win. He runs the Rindak over, gets almost to the Greif operator. I think kills it, but Norkius dodges into close combat with him on his second last order, which prevents him picking up the supply box on his last order.
Disgusting.
And I think I got a classified from repairing the avatar. I had test run, which was pretty good. And then I got secure HVT from Norkius being close to his HVT near the supply box. And I got a point from my enemy not having any supply boxes. So it ended up 3-1, which...
Wow.
I was so... those games that you are just convinced you lose and you feel like you should basically resign? In my last turn, I thought that was the case. And even somewhat into his last turn, I thought was the case. And it's something I've often seen, that players that win tournaments win those games where they think they've lost, but they keep on going and find a way to. And I managed it. So
very nice.
Hats off to Huey. Played an amazing game, and it was so fun.
He had an amazing tournament, to be honest. He had a really good tournament.
Hugh did very well, and Hugh's come on leaps and bounds since he started the game. Like, I feel like I only really he only joined, I think, during COVID, and I think he's
just before,
yeah, and then I think he bounced off a few armies, like bounced off Hack, bounced off some other armies, and then picked up Morats and has been doing really well with them. So it's good. Quick clarification.
He's had a good guide.
So Antipodean Bolt on our Patreon chat, which is otherwise known as Trent, has said ladders and stairs gain cover, climbing plus no cover. So if you imagine ladders and stairs work the same way. If you're using them to do the up and down, because they count as horizontal surfaces, you will gain cover. But if you're going up a vertical surface using climbing plus, you don't gain cover.
Well, that was Hugh's interpretation. There's definitely a line in the rule that says you do not gain cover on a vertical surface. So I mean, maybe I'm wrong. It's up for debate. Gav certainly ruled the way that you would not get cover. So I don't know.
And that's why I have teals.
The Yalgat mistake was probably a worse one than the ladder mistake. You know what? If I'm wrong about it, then I'm glad that we played it that way.
You're right. Yeah, you probably would have gone shock, to kill it rather than take it down from arm 3 to arm 2.
I mean, maybe I forgot to say, I don't know, but it's just one of those things. I think Infinity's one of those games where there are rules mistakes, and you simply have to accept that in as good grace as you can. Unless you're some kind of Rain Man about the rules. That, but all of us make mistakes, and you just got the best.
Yeah, you just got to.
Yeah. Okay, we'll move on to round 3, final round for day 1, which was Supremacy, and we all know who you face because he's on the show.
Oh no! Hold on, didn't I play Rory? Oh no, that's right. I played Nick. Nick. In true Melbourne gentlemanly style, he played this whole game like a real gentleman. He was so easy to get along with and nice about everything. I really appreciated it. So he mentioned a little mistake that he made in the game, and whether he should have asked to take it back.
Yeah, I was going to bring this up.
Yes,
perfect.
Yes,
you're one step ahead.
So I wanted to mention first that I think I made a similar mistake first order of the game, funnily enough. I won the roll and went first. He's described the game, so I'll just be fairly short about it. Speculo in his zone to help capture that zone, and same typical thing. I was going first. I was going to shoot everything with the avatar and then Gipps across and kill everything I could, hopefully pushing some buttons on the way. That was the general plan. I was a bit exhausted at the end of the day and decided to deploy my avatar in line of fire of his Warcore, which normally I would never deploy the piece that I want to attack with in line of fire of anything, because you can get trapped that way, especially against a faction that has good HD ARO pieces.
Yes.
And that's exactly what happened. So I moved the avatar, and I was very foggy-minded at the time, and I didn't really intend to. He had a long yar out and the Warcore, and I intended to take on the Warcore and then kill the long yar and hopefully bait out if there was one there. But I made the mistake of moving the avatar a little too far into both the Warcore and the long yar's line of fire, not really intending to. And then Nick checked with me, like the gentleman he is, whether my avatar was in line of fire of the long yard. And I, at that point, realised I'd made a mistake and kind of wanted to take it back, but felt like it wasn't the right thing to do. So my response was, well, it is where it is. From looking at it, I think it's in line of fire of the long yard, so I'm going to take that. And so I did, and of course then he revealed his Hundun, which had me in a bit of a trap because I was being fired at by a Walker, a Hundun, and a long yard with a Panzerfaust at the same time.
Yikes.
So I just wanted to, he didn't, in that, maybe he thought it was my move was more intentional than it was. But I did make that decision at that. I didn't think it was the right thing to take it back, especially once the Hundun's revealed, obviously.
Yeah, then you can't, for sure.
And that, I guess that's my point about these things. My general rule for takebacks, I think, is what I think is fair is takebacks are fine as long as no information has changed. Nothing's changed about the game state.
Yeah. So just to ask, if he did ask for you when he stepped inside the repeater range, and the suppression fire of the avatar, because what happened for the people who didn't the last episode and don't have 3 hours to give away, basically he stepped in front. He used his tag, the blue wolf, to step into line of sight of your avatar, not realize the avatar was A, on suppression, and B, there was a repeater within 8 inches. My take on this was like, you could have just asked, take that back and be like, sorry, actually, do you mind if I don't do that? I'll actually move another way, or I'll do something else, but still spend the order potentially. But but I guess Nick's I guess reply was, it's high. We were quite high up in the tables, and it didn't feel right. But yeah, I'm curious, what do you reckon the right thing to do there is?
If he had have asked, I would have too.
Sorry, what was that you said?
If he had have asked, I would have allowed him to. I would have let him take the move back. I was a bit foggy-minded at the time as well, and often I would actually remind somebody that there was a repeater there.
Yeah.
But what I did do actually was the order before, or a couple of orders before, I started measuring the zone of control of his Blue Wolf after it moved, which is the legal time to do so.
Yes.
You see if it was in range by repeaters, which I'm very surprised that he missed. And
yeah, sounds like both of you are pretty foggy.
I remember exactly what you're thinking, but my feeling was that it was a bit of a hint about that. You've got to remember also, technically, the zone of control of a repeater is not open information. You don't.
No, it's not. Yeah.
So when he moved his Blue Wolf, technically, if you're playing technically to the rules,
yes. Yep.
When he moved his Blue Wolf, he can measure the zone of control, but he cannot move the position of the Blue Wolf.
He can't.
Because not hidden information, but non-private information has been revealed that he's in a repeater. So
fair enough.
If you're playing technically correctly, information has been changed and he should not be. However, if he had have asked, I would have let him, and I wouldn't have felt too bad about it, although I do think it's kind of those kind of edge cases.
Yeah, because
and I do have a lot of respect for his point of view that he had made that mistake and he chose to own it. And in a casual game, I probably would insist that the person change that, because I don't really want to win games people making a silly mistake, even at a tournament. Because we were both tired and weren't thinking super clearly. It was a sort of a messy interaction, and I just found it hilarious at the time, to be honest.
That was like
and to give you an indication of how not well I was thinking, I was measuring from Norkius to see if he was in zone of control of the Blue Wolf too, and thinking, is he a millimeter in or a millimeter out? Not thinking that it didn't matter because the repeater was definitely.
Right.
Yeah.
In any case, I think he was in trouble even if he wasn't in zone of control of a repeater, because the avatar beat him in face-to-face anyway and he took a wound.
Exactly.
So I don't know that it would make that, it might have made it I'm not sure it was changing the result of the game, although it was enormously hilarious to me and enormously embarrassing to him, I think.
I guess what I'm driving at though is not so much if it would have changed the game. I guess what I'm driving at is the intention of playing a game in a competitive environment and a casual environment, both
with
aim
intent.
at making.
With
So no. So let me just. I'll just dump what's on my mind, and then you guys can unpick it. Basically, the intent of having a game with someone is to play your best, right?
Mm-hmm.
And making such an obvious mistake is something which no player would do intentionally, right? Because this simply it's a complete blunder, right? And I just think, the ability to ask your opponent to take that back, regardless of the setting, because it's too obvious a mistake. It's not like I've chosen the wrong ammo type, or I've not got my measurement, my range bands right. I've just simply completely forgot this is there, and I completely forgot that's in this state, whatever. And basically, what I'm saying is, I think it's okay to ask that, because I think both of you are trying to get the best game you can, even if it is a competitive environment. And I think that's what makes it okay to ask.
I agree with you. There's a slight wrinkle that, you can blunder into a repeater unintentionally without making that obvious mistake, if you know what I mean, because you don't know quite where the edge is.
You don't know where edge is,
yeah.
And I think it was quite obvious that repeater was there, because I did a coordinated move with the avatar, with that repeater, deliberately to put it in front of the avatar to screen it, and I thought that was very obvious, and Nick knew it. But as I said, we were both a bit frazzled, and I wasn't thinking it through that clearly. And my answer is, if he had have asked to take it back, I would have let him take it back. Although I think it's a little more of a closer edge case than some other things, but I wouldn't have held it against him.
Totally, fair enough. Yeah. No, totally get it. Yeah,
all right.
And I think it's okay to let players, like, if they, I did the same thing in a practice game with the avatar, blundered it into a repeater because I was frustrated with a camo marker that Hannibal is fun baited me with, and walked into a Panzerfaust at the same time and lost the avatar. And it taught me a really good lesson, which I needed to learn to do well at this tournament. So
true. Fair enough.
I don't know the answer, but if somebody asked me nicely, I would let them take it back. And often I would warn them in advance and say, there's a repeater there.
There's a repeater there. Yep.
Yeah.
In this case,
it was round 3. People were cooked. Like we all made those similar mistakes where we're like, okay, so the repeater's there, or whatever it is there. That guy's got a chain rifle, yeah. And then like 2 orders later, just wandering into the chain rifle range, going, oh fuck yeah, you said he had a chain rifle, and I just did that. Can I just take that back? And they're like, yeah, I told you, and you're like, yeah, I just fucking forgot, and then you do it. But sometimes you're just like, I'm here now.
Yeah, I don't think anybody, everybody allows, or some people might not, but everybody would allow, you to go around.
Exactly.
Mine or a chain right where it's really obvious.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, and the repeaters are just slightly weird because it's
not open information.
I guess if you guys mentioned the repeater before doing the measurement, then that would have been a better place to take back. But after measurement, it's probably a bit too late. So.
Yeah.
All right, that's the thing. Maybe I was a bit quick to measure. I don't know, but I don't know. I was in a depleted state at the time.
Absolutely.
Okay, so how did rest of the game go?
Well, basically, once the Blue Wolf was possessed, then killed his own trooper in ARO with CC, which both he and he could have dodged the trooper into it with CC. Then I ran a Garki into it, or dodged a Garki into it, so that when he got it back, it'd be engaged. We forgot, Val mentioned last time, that the Speculo was unconscious and should have scored. I'm not sure if that made a difference or not. Nick seemed to think it wouldn't. Basically, a Longya mine exploded on it and killed it, and it shotgunned the Longya back. But I forgot that it was an AP mine. I shot my head that Speculo was dead. But after the Avatar did a lot of damage first turn, then he came back with the Blue Wolf. I possessed it and killed it, and then Norcus ran around and killed most of his army, 80s lieutenant, and then I ran my shrouded down and pushed a button, and Norcus had pressed another 2. So I ended up winning 2 rounds of supremacy and having 3 consoles. And I don't recall about classifieds. I do remember Nick thinking about how he was going to drop trooper right at the end of the game with the last order in loss of lieutenant, just so it wouldn't count as dead, which I also thought was kind of funny. But we ended it there. I know Nick was quite embarrassed. It was kind of time I saw about the wandering, just because it just seemed so funny. But to me, it seemed like he wanted to own the mistake and he didn't ask. So
yeah, exactly right. No, he definitely did.
Yeah. Okay, so that's day 1 over with. How did you feel after the first 3 rounds? 3 majors.
Good, but shattered. I guess like 3 games of Infinity just does mean often I have a shocking headache after 3 because it's just thinking so hard for so long.
Mm-hmm.
So just wiped out really. But going to the pub and having a drink and hanging out with Alistair and Harrison and that, and everybody was there. That was good. Apart from waiting for a chicken curry, seemed a little bit excessive. I wish I had come to the pizza store.
I know, same here, mate.
The pizza place will live on in memory. Maybe next year we'll all go there as a group.
Yeah, for sure.
Any highlights from the evening, or did you go to bed early?
No, I just had my dinner, had a few drinks, had a chat about the current New South Wales energy crisis with Alistair, who works as a trader for an energy company, which was fascinating. Hung out, saw a few people, went to bed fairly early, put my earplugs in, and got a blissful, restful night's sleep.
That's good. That's good. You didn't hear us. You didn't hear us walking by the Imperial at like 2 a.m. with Val going, "We should just get a taxi. What the fuck are we
doing?" I did not hear a freaking word.
Oh, good. I don't know if you're wanting to crack on with the next 2 rounds, or if you want to have a quick break before you go into the last 2 rounds, or what do you want? Crack on?
I'm easy.
All right. Well, tell you what, we'll crack on. We'll do the final 2 rounds, and then we've got a bit of a wrap up. So Sunday morning, we're into round 4, which is rescue. Did you found out who you were playing against the night before? Yeah.
Yep. And it was Rory from Queensland, who I had previously played at Ken Cod Top Table in 2017. And it was lovely to play him again. We had a fairly kind of an ill-tempered top table game in 2007 where we only got to the end of round 1 by dice down. And we were drawn at that point, and I wanted to stop the game because I win the tournament, I think, if we drew, and he did not. And the Tio, my friend Tion, got us to play an extra turn, and he flogged me. So it was nice to see him again. And he's a super smart guy. So smart and really precise about the way he plays. There's a lot I admire about. Like I said in the chat, he's the that 2 lists that are almost the same are very good to play Infinity because of the muscle memory advantage it gives you. Yeah, so it was really good to play him. The game, I don't think I've ever seen anybody fucked over by a table quite as much as Rory was fucked by this table.
Oh, interesting. Go on.
So it had I think I won and the Lieutenant Roland decided to go first, but it had a bad side. And then it had a side where there was this big wall that enclosed a lot of the deployment zone.
What was the table? Do you remember the table? Much of it?
It was over on the right-hand side as you walk in, and it had, like I said, that, and then a few buildings in the middle. It had a armory type building in his deployment zone on his left, and a big building on his right. It had those like acrylic bits in walls that you can pull out, and we decided they were like Star Trek doors.
Mm-hmm.
It was a nice looking table, and it was a good table. The only problem was that for an S2 model, the big walls that enclosed a lot of my deployment zone were quite trouble because they could not get through them without going through the doors, which we ruled the doors, Star Trek doors, like no short skill to open them. You could just walk through them, partially to make that a little easier. But the problem is that the Avatar, those walls like they're nothing.
Yeah.
But his assassins, he was playing Assassin Baram, and his models could not get through there easily, and mine could easily. And on top of that, there's the exclusion, which made, and he failed 3 day alarm concentrations in a row, and then decided not to chance it with 4. And it just meant my Avatar could just kind of away from it easily, and he couldn't get near it with days or anything like that. And it could have cover and overwatching fire without being able to be got to, really. So that was very difficult for his squishy little man compared to my giant, big, angry robot. In terms of how the game went, I went first. The Avatar just came out, killed a couple of the Dale Army, and he had a Muyib link, which had Leela Sharif, the HRL Muyib, and a Spitfire, AP Spitfire Muyib, and a couple of, which wasn't in the link but was near them. And then on the other side, he had the Asawira Spitfire in a Harris with I'm not sure what else. So the way the game played out is that the Avatar just ran forward, killed a couple of Dale Army, killed the HRL Muyib, which was the main threat to it and the biggest chancy dice roll of the game, I guess. And then Norkius ran over across the table to take out his Barid, which I thought was the big threat, or one of the big threats to the Avatar with its hacking device. And then Norkius fucked it, basically. He 3 dice on 18s for a Trinity against the Barid, which I think was probably Rory's. And
his LT.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think I rolled a 19, a 20, and 2. And then Barid rolled under 14 for its Oblivion, and then Norkius, which wasn't the best, but also isn't too bad because it still leaves a piece on his side of the board that he has to deal with because it'll just reset. So he started moving his link team around and then realised that every time he moved, Norkius would reset, and even though he's on a -9, this is going to happen at some point.
Yes.
Wait a minute. So why would he get to reset every time?
Well, because you're moving within his zone of control, so it gets a reset.
Oh, sorry. Yes, within zone control. Yep.
Yeah. So then he did manage to get his killer hack, Leela Sharif, I think, close to Norkius and eventually kill him. But it took a lot of his turn where he was a bit depleted on orders after I killed a few things. And then he killed a couple of Garkis or Tigers and just moved his Vidays around a little bit. He had a lot of trouble moving Vidays around because I dodged a couple of Tigers towards them. And anywhere they went, because they've got the sixth sense, they could just kind of follow the Vidays around. So really get away from them.
So good at that, right?
Fucking can't. Yeah, you told me about one of your games, Kevin, where you like just follow something around.
Yeah,
and that's why they're really good at defending the Avatar. One of the reasons. And so he ended up dropping a mine with one of the days and moving another one around, and I think they both ended out of impersonation because he couldn't re-impersonate them because the Tigers were watching them.
Fucking rats.
I know, they're so annoying and so good if you're playing them. And it was just kind of a little bit in with the Fides. I think he was planning on run civilians back, but he couldn't really do that with the Tigers just annoying him. So then it became my turn again, and basically the Tigers just berserk into the Fides, right?
Yeah.
And kill them, which is, they're so good, but they're 30 points each, and a 6-point thing berserks into them and kills them. I think he dropped another mine when it berserked, just to stop me getting back. And then between the mobility of the Avatar, the Greif, which could be on the other side of the board, I could, because I had fire control at that point, the Avatar was overwatching a lot of the board and he didn't have anything out to stop me. The Greif could again just get with the MSV against the non-rescue HVT, and then I could grab a couple of civilians and run across the board and put the Avatar in suppressive fire in the middle of the board. Then we realised at that point we're in time trouble because we're both quite thoughtful people, I suppose, that can think things out to exactness, and we decided to just fast play from that point. So Rory then played a 5-6 minute turn, running his link team across the board, throwing some smoke out, grabbing a couple of civilians, and running back. And then I played a 6-minute turn, my last turn, mainly just running the Avatar down a flank and killing that entire link team with it, and killing the Brid as it tried to oblivion me. And then Rory was in loss of lieutenant. He didn't have an awful lot to do. He ran the Aswira, failed it, I think.
What was that? It just broke up a second there.
He ran the Aswira out in loss of lieutenant and retreat, I think, in his turn. Tried to do a classic blow, but did not get it. And then was quite surprised. I think Rescue has changed, and you mentioned it last time, that you have to have the civilian synced. So he thought he had one in his dead zone, but it was not. But it was not synced because I killed his link team with the Avatar. So I ended up with a civilian in my deployment zone, and civilian in my dead zone, and having done a classified, which I'm not so sure exactly what the score was, but that's a major.
It was enough, yeah, for sure. What was it? Yeah, no, nicely done.
So that was quite an interesting list. I'm yet to see many Muyubs being run in Assassins. It seems to be very much like Gulams, Asawira, Fides, Dilami, but you saw some Muyubs in there.
I think that, I don't mind the Muyub team. That one with the HRL has NO or TAC awareness.
It's got TAC awareness and exposure, and it's BS13. It's pretty decent.
Yeah, TAC awareness on it. I wouldn't mind even taking 2 of them in a link just to get 2 TAC awarenesses, right? And if there's one thing I'm scared of in Infinity, it's fire, because I've failed so many fire saves and you just keep on going. It is just so depressing to just keep on failing and failing and failing. It's kind of good for fire, right? Fire's supposed to be scary, and it is.
Yeah, it's not as scary as it used to be. Well, I just want to take a quick. I'm going to pause the recording for a second. Okay. So, round 5. So that was another major for you. So that's 4 majors, 4 rounds, and
the Hugh was a minor, 3-1. And by the way, I think serendipitously that was a bit of a mini submarine, because I think if I had a major Hugh, I might have come across Rob Cantrell or Ed from Canberra.
Right.
And I did not. And they drew and kind of knocked each other down a bit. So that was quite fortuitous for me, I think.
That was the meme, wasn't it? That was the meme that we had on Crypt posting afterwards. Was like the was the epic battle of the 2 Godzilla, and everyone's like, "What shall we do?" And they're like, "Just let them fight." Like New South Wales is like, "Let them fight."
Well, it worked.
That's fucking great. Oh, that's so
I was
good.
not unhappy to hear that. Put it that way.
No, absolutely not.
Okay,
Yeah.
so who was your round 5 opponent?
My round 5 opponent was my very good friend Tom Boll, like I said this about everybody, they're all, most players are pretty good guys, but Tom is such a gentleman. He's crazy smart. He's like a PhD physicist, and he explained his PhD to me once, and I didn't understand what he said. And he's the most gentlemanly, polite. Some people are just gifted with all of it, and you're jealous of them. But there is nobody that I would rather play a game of Infinity with than Tom Boll.
Wow, and so much for Melbourne being first and fun.
Glowing review.
We had lunch together on Saturday, and then we're on Sunday, so it was great. He was playing Varsity, and I was like, beforehand, I was like, what am I going to do against Sphinx double Speculo? I have no idea. But I don't know why, but he did not bring Sphinx double Speculo. He brought his other list.
Oh.
It still had double Speculo Mind Layers, but it did not have the Sphinx.
Oh, yeah, right.
It had a TR bot. It had Dr. Worm. It had a bunch of camo markers, some of which were Calibans and some of which were Shroudeds. It had the typical Echidrons and Tigers. And his Tigers were the Shock AP ones, whereas mine were the AP, were the DA ones. I took the Greif for every game except for Supremacy. And for the first time, I lost the Lieutenant role, and Tom decided to go first.
Oh, boy.
Yes, okay. Tell us more.
Go, Tom. No, sorry.
We even know how it ends, but we're still cheering, right?
Yeah.
So the mentor was like, damn, my count, it's useless. So he deployed the 2 spec. Obviously, he deployed first, but held back Speculos. No, he didn't. One Speculo he placed, and one Speculo he held back, and he held back.
He did spend the command token.
He did spend the command token, but I think to put it in a good spot. Sorry,
you broke up there. What was that?
He held back a TR bot.
Ah, okay.
Instead of a Speculo, which was an interesting and good choice. I held back obviously the Avatar and the Greif, because I get 2 without spending a command token, and you spend the extra 1 when you go second. So he I've just spread everything out to give him minimum targets, trying to watch each other, of course. And I know actually I did not hold back the Greif. I held back Dr. Worm. Because he deployed first, I put the Greif next to his HVT, and I held back Dr. Worm, thinking that if he deployed a Speculo in my deployment, I could surround it with 2 slave bots, or if not, I could deploy the slave bots to watch him and be able to hide Dr. Worm from just getting instantly speculoed.
Wow.
Very cool.
Yeah, so I put Dr. Worm on a roof, and I put the 2 bots watching towards where his speculos, which he deployed just outside my deployment zone. He didn't roll for it, and put the mines in convenient places, of course, just outside my deployment zone. And then I deployed the Avatar as an ARO piece with good lines of fire, but somewhere that it couldn't just be instantly shot at. So if it was approached, it could, force the Speculos at least to throw or slow down a bit.
Mm-hmm.
So were you not scared? So what was your plan for him just doing an assassination run and hoping for the monofilament blade to come through against the Avatar?
Well, the problem is that I get to deploy, because the Avatar's deployed from reserve, I get to deploy it after both of his reserves. So I can just deploy it away from them, right? It's not like the old days with Strategos where you could make your opponent not have a reserve and then deploy your reserve right
Yeah.
now. That's another little stealth buff to the Avatar, like it didn't need enough.
Okay, gotcha.
I could put it a bit away for them, and could make a gauntlet of a net of spread out tiger, Icadrons, Norkius, Flash Pulse Spot, just to make him suffer discovers before he got to me.
Assassination run, yeah.
And hopefully get target, right? So what he did was, despite my best efforts to hide Dr. Worm, he moved Speculo one order. I discovered it, brought it down a level with my bot. He drew line of fire a sneaky way that I didn't realize to Dr. Worm and just shot Dr. Worm dead. So that was awesome. And then he moved his speculos around, just trying to engage soft targets, because I think he didn't think that he could get to the avatar. But I think he was a little bit surprised him around, because he shouldn't have been, because he has tigers himself. And they just made enough of a mess of themselves that they could just slow him down. And he only really killed like a Flash Pulse Bot and Dr. Worm, I think, in his turn, and managed to get one of the then coordinated to impersonate two impersonators just to make them
dig them in.
Yeah. So then in my turn, I just ran some warbands out and tried to dodge mines, setting them off, which I think Agaki probably died. And then I ran the avatar. First, I engaged the TR bot with the avatar ineffectually for a couple of hours, and then just put it straight to dead, which Tom was a bit heartbroken about, because his plan was to have it go unconscious, go prone behind a wall, and then bring it back up again. Sort of 50-50 on that. Then I ran the avatar over to the one of the speculos, which I dodged a couple of tigers near, and then used their irregular to try and discover it, just, on the off chance. They're only whip 11, but when they're close, they're on 8s or something. They failed, so I ran the avatar over, discovered from close range, which it's on like a 14 because it's whip 17 plus 3. He didn't do anything, of course, and then the avatar, luckily for me, succeeded, and then I declared discover, to which he dropped a mine, to which I separated his and then there was a fight. There was a speculo on the right CA side. I was quite happy about it. He was a little sad about it. But it was quite a good move to drop the mine, because the tiger near it and the avatar. So anything I did with any of those models would then explode that mine, and some of them wouldn't get to dodge, right? Unless it was coordinated, which it couldn't be coordinated because the tigers are irregular and they're in
very nice.
So that was clever. Then I just used the extra orders left to run Norkius up and grab a console, which he does quite well because he's a hacker, and then just hide him a little bit. So Tom's second turn, he spent running up a lot of tigers and trying to close combat my tigers, which I was really unsure about.
You're just like killing each other.
Yeah, there is a reason for it. Tom's pretty smart. But because my tigers tended to have DA and his tended to have shock AP, I got 2 rolls at it and he only got 1. And so I tended to win those fights more often and make my armor rolls, and Tom was quite frustrated about it.
Was he berserking, or was he just
he was berserking,
Yeah, he was berserking. And then I was hitting him back, and my DA beat his AP shot. And I kept on making the armor saves, and he was like, "Oh, what?" And I can't remember if it was in his second turn or his third turn. I think it was his second turn. He berserked a tiger into the HVT, which you have to kill. And failed. It made its armor save or something.
And
it was and the avatar then shot it on the way in and killed it, which he was like, "Oh my god." So then the mine blew up against the I think both the Tigers made their saves weekly, or dodged or something. So that was unfortunate for him. And then
he had Predator, didn't he?
Yeah, he did have Predator.
Yeah,
that's what. And then either my second turn or my third turn, the Greif was deployed right next to his HVT. It stood up, moved along a roof prone, shot an Icodron, then shot HVT dead, then moved into contact with a scenery item in his half of the table and decharged it. Got that. And then I ran Norkius up across the board, got 2 more consoles. As I got the second one, he said, Octify, which was
sorry. What was that?
Norkius ran across the board getting consoles, and as he touched he contacted the second one for this turn, or the third one for me to get, over on Tom's side of the board. And as he moved into contact with the objective, moved away, and then Tom said, I reveal my Noctifer, which was a bit of a shit your pants moment. And then Norkius proceeded to beat him in the gunfight.
No.
3 dice on 6s. I think I was quite close point, so I was like 3 dice on 6s and he was like 1 on 12. And Norkius, over the course of 2 orders, put him dogged and then killed him. And then we weren't sure about Norkius. Then pressed the button and like moved into a corner, basically. And I thought I had one more order to cyber mask him, but we weren't sure about the order count because Gav had come over and talked to us about something. And it was one of those things where I thought I'd spent the order and then went and did the thing, but then Tom thought I hadn't, and we weren't really sure how to resolve it. And in the end, we rolled a dice to see, which was good. There was a couple of little moments where we had, things like that, but Tom's such a gentleman, and I respect him so much that it was easily. And so it ended up against me. So Norkius did not get into Cyber Mask, which in Tom's third turn allowed him to Trinity Norkius to death with a Shrouded Hacker. And then he did this weird thing where he ran a Fide into an Imatron and pistoled it. And I'm like, this has got to be a classified, right?
Oh, yeah, right, yeah.
So he pistols it unconscious and then gets 2 classifieds off this Imatron. One was Predator, and the other one was whatever the one is, In Extremis Recovery or something.
Yeah, with the whip +3, yeah.
So he ends up with 2. I think he actually did that on his second turn, actually, because he was going after Norkius, but decided not to and decided to do this instead. And I was like, what? Anyway, I was super, super bummed that he killed Norkius just at the end of his third turn, and it was going into my turn, and I'm like, I hope I haven't won because of that order thing. And Tom, the gentleman goes, you're winning, right? So I hadn't really counted the points. And I'm like, am I? And he's like, yeah. And then he worked it out with me, and I was winning, which I was like, well, what am I annoyed for? So that was it. Basically, I ran Mentor up the half just to get mapping, I think. And Tom, the gentleman that he is, pointed out, although he was trying to get Predator, I had actually got Predator in my reactive turn from my Tigers killing his Tigers instead of his Tigers killing my Tigers.
Oh, fuck
I
me.
didn't realise. I was so brain dead. So that was lovely of him. So I ended up with more consoles pushed and 3 classifieds, which I think made it 7 or 8, and he ended up with 2 of his classifieds and more specialist kills. So I think it was 8-5 actually.
Oh, close game, yeah, because the specialist kills can really swing it.
Yeah,
I think there's 2 points for that, 4 points for the consoles, and then the classifieds. Yeah,
classifieds and the designated target as well.
Yeah, that's right. And I'd done that, and he had because his berserk failed. So the gripe really was clutch in a lot of those games, just getting rides and killing things that had to die.
Yeah, a really good piece for classifieds, absolutely. So that was it. So it was 8-5.
8-5, yeah.
8-5. So
and I wasn't sure I won at that point, but apparently I
had. So you finished that game, and then we pack up, and then we do the announcements. And how shocked were you when you found out you won?
I mean, Gav came over to me at the end of my game and said, "You've won top table. I think you've probably won, but I'm not promising that. We have to add it up. Which ITS pack do you want if you want to win? If you win, do you want the Jotun one or do you want..." So having had him said that to me, it was not a massive surprise to win, although it was a relief to hear it. And when I heard Rob Cantrell second, because he counted down from 10 to 1, I was like, well, I can't be 11th, right? I
can't. Nice.
So that was awesome, and I got a great phone being like, yeah, with the ring, Tom and David Fife, and that was great.
Yeah.
So congratulations, mate. Well done. Sounds like you played it well, and well deserved.
I actually made quite a few mistakes, and I'd like to play that avatar list a few more times just to feel like I'm, a big thing for me about playing list development, right? I want to know it inside out and be able to play it perfectly, and I do not feel like I'm at that stage.
You're not there yet.
No, but
it's interesting. It's interesting how much the avatar forces your opponents to kind of make a stake, because it's so all or nothing, not only for you but for them. Because if they spend their whole turn going for an attack run to try to destroy it or try really over focus on it and they don't get it, it really wastes all their resources. So it's hard to play against from a mechanical point of view, but also a mental point of view.
And then if they don't do that, and you can gain active fire control, like board control with its HMG, then it forces them to sneak around it, right? It's very good. Once you can kill their main kind of active attack pieces with either it or Norkius, then it can really control the board in both active and reactive, and it makes it quite hard.
Yeah, like with shock rounds or something like that. Yeah.
Well, especially in suppressive fire, a third of the way up the board, something like that. In a position where it cuts back into cover, it can, unless you've got really good smoke or something, you need some way to deal with it.
Yeah, and on that Taigas, when I first started playing Shazvasti, I was always running 4 AP shock Taigas, and the amount of times the Taiga would berserk into a Rushi, and the Rushi would just pass its armor save, and I'd be like, fuck, or just that's whatever it was. And now ever since then, ever since my first, I don't know, dozen games with them, I've just moved. I'll spend the extra 4 points and get 4 Tigers with DA, because they just do the job. Except at one time where I berserked into a... What was it? It was a Morlock. They've got Dogged, right? Or something. Whatever has Dogged, right?
It's meta chemistry, yeah.
Yeah. Whatever has something has Dogged, right? I've berserked into the double action, and they've passed one, failed one. I've gone, fuck, because it's still Dogged. Where if it was the AP shock, it would have died. It's the only time where I've gone, I wish I had the AP shock. But yeah.
If you're berserking an avatar, you might want the AP. I don't know.
Maybe the AP shock for the avatar. But yeah, most of the time, double action is the way to go.
Absolutely.
So I'm not sure I will ever play the avatar list again. To be honest,
So you actually, is this probably a good time to kind of ask and bring up the Swiss Miss article?
Well,
Yeah.
I want to have a really quick break just
You sure?
because my internet's starting to die and I want to like rejuvenate it with a little bit of, I don't know, just a slap on the butt or whatever I need to do. So I'm just gonna have like a really quick 5-minute break and then we'll come back and talk about exactly what you just said and a little bit of a wrap up for the weekend and then we can like get it done all before bedtime, hopefully. Is that okay?
Yes, yes, absolutely.
Right, okay. We'll be right back, listeners. Okay, listeners, and we're back. Sorry for that slight delay there to our Patreons. Just had to work out my internet, but we're back. And as we said, that was 5 rounds. Lachlan did very well. He came first, so that's about as well as you can do. Didn't win Best Sports though, but then neither did Victoria, so I can't really say that.
I did, however. Two of my opponents, Tom and Hugh, told me that they voted for me for sports at least, so I was happy to get, if they're telling me the truth, at least a couple of votes for it.
No, that's good. Oh, excellent.
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
Who did win Best Sports in the end, actually? I can't remember who that was. Was it David? No.
I'm not sure, to be honest. I didn't recognize that person.
No, it was Mark Cheek.
That's what it was, of course.
He also won the painting with that cool Sin City JSA.
That was fucking
That's right, he did. That was so good.
Yeah, right.
That was
and
so
Tom's
good.
goes Fasti. Oh, they should have been equal firsts.
They should have been.
Sure.
Yeah. That was incredible. The bug, the insect paint job he did on them, so good.
Yeah.
And yet another talent of the amazing Tom Boll, like the best painter, like is so amazing.
Well, same as Rob Cantrell. When Rob Cantrell paints, fucking when he plays,
Flash Toha look amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so so Novacore is wrapped up. Do you want to just want to give any, I guess, kind of highlights of the event? Anything that you particularly enjoyed about the weekend, except for winning?
The most. I had 5 great games, which was amazing. I often have that at tournaments. I really enjoyed the game against you, and I really enjoyed the game against Tom, and I enjoyed the others too. Gav runs such a great event. He's such a personable person. He's so good at, cracking a joke in front of a crowd and getting everybody happy and excited. It was just and he runs a beautiful event. Like everything he does, he wants to do like great. And that shows in the organisation of the event. And the 2 other TOs, Grady, the only reason I wouldn't be happy to have them as TO is because I'd like to play them, because having played them both in the past, they're great players and great people as well. So couldn't ask for more. And Jason and him as well. He's a great player. Bringing that.
Yeah, Jason. Big shout out to Jason. He did a great job. Yeah,
amazing. That crew, that Newcastle cool, tight crew. Infinity in Australia wouldn't be the same without
them. Yeah, they got a good foundation. Good foundation. People.
That's some lovely sentiment. Yeah, excellent. Any improvements from the weekend that you could throw towards the TOs now?
I can't. The last Novacore, I thought maybe some tables didn't have a sideboard, which can be a bit difficult if you've got a command panel. But all of them did this time. Every table was great. I honestly can't even really think of anything to improve. They've had the idea that maybe you could spend or like community fun things for us to do or something rather than, and that wouldn't be bad. But also it's great to give, I think all the prizes really should go to the new players because we've got the shit we want, it is good to give prizes to encourage them. That'd be all though, I guess. And Gav did that anyway, so I've got no criticisms at all. It was probably the best run event I've ever been to.
Yeah, there was heaps of prizes and they went to everybody, and like you say, people like Mark Chi and that got really good prizes for being best sport, best painted. You had all the prizes during the weekend as well for all of the various challenges, which is always good too. Yeah, I can't really complain about the prizes. I did like the Nespresso machine. That was awesome.
That was funny.
Yeah,
That was
I think I would like to see more non-infinity prizes. We were discussing this about BCB, and a lot of, like you say, a lot of veterans already have the blisters that they want. They have the army boxes that they want. If it's not a limited edition, tech bay, if it's not like if it's not Gavin in a thong, I don't really know if I want a miniature. Maybe we should be giving
it's
away.
like sentimental infinity prizes or something, right?
It should be like maybe paints or paint brushes, maybe, or a 3D
I thought of
printer.
maybe like custom jerseys or something with your name on it and painting winner. The only problem with that is people are different sizes, obviously, so it might be a little bit difficult
You could do like that kind of like year 12 hoodie, right? Where where you get everybody's name who went to the event on the back, and then like the front is Novacore.
Or apparel would be cool. Yeah, and maybe you could pre-order it then, and just everybody gets one. That'd be cool.
Yeah, and then put the money in, see your size. Yeah.
That'd be cool.
And that would also encourage people not to drop out at the last minute because you don't get the hoodie.
They want their hoodie.
Yeah. Yeah, cool. So, all right, we'll get the nasty stuff out the way first, and then we'll get into the good stuff, right?
Sure.
So, what's your Val? Do you want to ask the question that you said before?
Basically, Lachlan, I'm sure you're aware there has been an article posted attacking you. No, obviously not attacking you, but basically attacking Combined Army. It's basically the one by Swiss Miss where he analyzed the data and made mention that Combined Army coming top 4 out of the top 5 or whatever, suggesting that maybe they need a brush with the Nerf bat, as well as some and as well as the general sentiment around the avatar from the general public. What do you have to say to that? Just in general.
Well, I think I more or less agree with the Swiss Myths article. Like taking down tigers in AVA would not be wrong. I don't think it mentioned strongly. One thing I will say is that things look a lot bigger and closer, right? Like, everybody after each tournament thinks the thing that won the tournament is the most OP thing ever, and that's a very huge thing to do. But I'm not really aware of CA winning or just dominating a lot of big events, apart from the first N4 Infinity tournament in New Zealand. I think an Avatar list won, and this is the only other one that I'm aware of. So you just got to put it in a context, right? Things that win tournaments probably are quite strong. I more or less agree with that the Avatar is very strong and that Combined are very strong. I agree with Nick and Rob Cantrell's tier list, more or less, and as much as it was some meant tongue-in-cheek. But I also think some of the reaction that I have seen to the Avatar is straight after this tournament is probably a little bit
hyperbole.
Yeah, maybe a hyperbole, or maybe just like the natural human reaction to react to things that are very close to you, like they are bigger than they are.
It's very transitionary.
Yeah, if in 6 months, Combined Arming is winning every tournament or every second or tournament or 5 out of the top 10 of many tournaments, then you're talking about words like broken, right? At the moment, I would agree that the Avatar is very strong and produces swingy games, which can, for some opponents, be a bit kind of anxiety-inducing or lock them out a bit. And I would not be adverse to CB touching CA and or the Avatar and or Tigers with Nerf bat. As to broken is such a emotional and vague word. What does it right? What do you mean by that? Do you mean that it's quite strong, or do you mean it mechanically breaks the game? It does not mechanically break the game.
No, absolutely not.
In my opinion, there have been things in the past which were more problematic than the Avatar. And I'm the kind of person, I think, that just says what I think, and that gets quite bluntly at times, and that can get me in trouble. And so I will say when I think something is too strong, whether I'm playing it or not. When I used to play Riot Girls and I won a lot with them, I said they were too strong. I think the Avatar is, and possibly CA, are a little bit too strong, but not to the extent of words like broken, toxic, talking about if you brought an Avatar to a tournament, you're that guy. I think that is like a bit much. I think as a community, Infinity is balanced enough that we should not be shaming people for what they bring, but we should be willing to have an honest conversation about what does feel a little bit too strong, and therefore did get brought by the player who won the tournament. Because let's face it, players who win tournaments, they're not just good on the table, they also bring strong lists and do the best of strong lists. And in a way, everybody at that tournament or everybody at a tournament or most people at a tournament, some people are playing just for fun. Most of those people are bringing the list that they think they have the best chance with. Everybody's doing the same thing. Just because somebody chose a list does not make them like problematic in some way. If you painted your avatar and you think that's a strong list and you wrote your list and you brought it and you won, you're not a bad person, right? You're just doing what everybody else is doing. If in a year avatars win every tournament and nobody can beat them and everybody's just net listing it, then maybe you can say, look, is that the right thing to do? It's not funny, right?
Yeah. And it's not for the
I mean, I personally.
Oh, sorry, Lachlan. You just stopped for a second there. Is that the planes interfering with your audio again?
Yeah. Sorry, it's gone now, I think. I was just saying, I think personally that when the Kamau came out, it was problematically strong. And some people didn't like me saying that. And some people said, and Lockie Carter's about this, he says, it doesn't matter, right? You're playing against what you're playing. Every person in the tournament has the opportunity to bring that thing. If they choose not to, that's up to them. All the people can say now that the Kamau was the most powerful the Avatar was or whatever. But, hindsight is 2020. If they thought that, they should have brought with it.
Yeah.
And only one person did that. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Yeah. I think. Sorry, Val, you want to say something?
I was just going to say it's and furthermore, it's not up to the community to shame people into what they bring to balance the game. The responsibility of the community is to play the game, and it's for the game designers to balance the game. And they've got enough data and insight to make those decisions if they need be. But I don't think on the base of one tournament that should be done. And furthermore, I don't think the Avatar is a problem in reality.
I don't think it's a problem, and I think it's also Combined Army is a really popular army, and the depth of Infinity means that you can run so much more than just an avatar in a Combined Army list, and what we don't want to see is, and it's bullshit. The fact like whatever wins a tournament, any major tournament, some people are gonna call it as being too much, and because it's an avatar, it's an easy target because it's an avatar. Everyone knows an avatar. It's to borrow Rob's expression, it's the most mechanically powerful unit in the game. There's literally nothing that will beat it in that mechanical raw power. But even I've been
going. The problem there is that it has a lot more than that. It has all the benefits, the command token, and the reserve. Like, does it need all that? Probably not. And I think it's very valid, and it's a fine line, right? it's very valid to say, I think this piece is too strong, and this is why I think that. It's a fine line between that and like using words like toxic or broken or like these emotive kind of words that whether you intended or not add a shame factor to something.
Yes.
But
Exactly,
but
and
by
that's-
extension, you start to shame the whole faction as well, which we don't want people. You don't want people to do. We don't want people to jump on the combined army bandwagon and feel like they shouldn't do because they win all the tournaments because they're S tier and they win all. They win everything. But that's really not the case. It really is down to the units you choose and the player you are and the missions, because we haven't talked about the fact that the missions I think did favor, as much as Gavin tried to not make them favor tags, I think the missions did favor tags.
Yeah, I mean, there's law of unintended consequences there, right? I know that when I heard him say that, I was like, well, got a point to prove now, right?
Yeah,
I'll get the biggest, baddest tag I can just to show what I think is correct.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And the other thing is people weren't expecting tags, right? Because no one's going to bring a tag, so that had an added factor as well.
Well, we talked about the fact that 3 out of the 5 missions have exclusion zones, right? So people therefore weren't leaning heavily into midfield infiltrating skirmishers or hackers or alpha strike pieces that could start in the midfield because Andromeda in 3 out of 5 missions couldn't necessarily get where she needed to go. Hackers in the midfield. So what you have now is a tag that starts on the 12-inch line and can basically move out to the 24-inch line without anything coming to get them from inside zone control, because everything's
those exclusion zones play way into Combine's favor as well, just from the point of view of impersonators, because they can go on the other side of it. It's not just the avatar or the good pieces at the high end or the low end. It's impersonators and hack. Although they have the impersonators, they don't.
They don't have the raw gunfire.
They don't have the heavy pieces, right? So a lot of the missions played into CA's favor, in my opinion. So in a set where that wasn't the case, maybe you would see CA dominating so much, and that's the case in none of the tournaments. None of the IGLs have been won by Combined Army, I don't think. I'm not sure if any of All's leagues, but the IGLs certainly had very competitive players in them, very good and fair and right players. Some of the toughest, fairest, greatest games I've played of Infinity have been on TTS against people on ITS.
Yeah.
But SP won one of those.
Still fans they did. Yeah, absolutely.
And that's like something else I was thinking about today. I was listening to Rob's recap of Novacore and talking about guided missile lists. And one of the things I thought about, I didn't really encounter it at all in my games, which was kind of surprising, because when you have 3 out of the 5 missions again that have exclusion zones, what this says to a player is it says, well, am I going to bother spending points on an infiltrating camo marker when I can't make use of the infiltration? So then they go, well, I'm going to save points and not take an infiltrating. Let's just say Yu Jing, for example. I'll take a Guilang hacker. Oh, I can't use it because we're playing countermeasures or comm center. I'll just take a Celestial Guard hacker. Now that model's on the table, can be targeted, can be shot.
Yeah.
Doesn't have to be discovered. And I think that may have played into some people's list building, where they were taking lists that were in the DZ, not necessarily in camo state, not necessarily in a hidden state, where models like a tag, like an avatar, like a Coronted, like a whatever, can then draw a bead and just start gunning things. Because I was thinking, why did I played Chaz Vasti, why did my list not really suffer that? I mean, it did suffer that against Rob, but when you've got a MSV Coronted, you can't fucking hide because it's just gonna discover shoot you. And that's where I feel like I didn't have that worry, because I was like, well, everything's in camo state except for my Tagas and my 2 Icadrons. Go for it. But I faced a lot of armies that were just on the table. Everything was there for me to attack with the Sphinx. I didn't have to discover it. I just got into an angle. I could shoot it, kill it, and then
the Sphinx is so good at that, like finding an angle, climbing on, and getting out the side. killing right things is what it loves.
I just wonder if that was because in my 5 games, I really didn't face very many camo markers.
Do you want to recap your 5 games as well?
No, I guess I'm just like thinking like an avatar is only as good if it's got targets to shoot at.
Yeah,
And obviously
absolutely.
it had targets to shoot at. So I'm just wondering why were people giving you targets, and it's because they weren't in either they weren't hidden well enough, the tables were open, or the things weren't in camo state to begin with.
Yeah, and like Morats was the one
and
where
obviously Norkius can just be like, I go where I want to and I kill what I
Yeah.
want.
Interestingly, the practice game that I lost against Hannibal is fun. Shout out, he's an awesome player. Was because Norkius got frustrated by a camo marker in the table, discovered it, failed, and then I got frustrated and ran the avatar up and ran it into a predator and got it. It's interesting that that's that result, and even for my list, the list that I played the most didn't have a midfield camo. It had the mentor, and that's I didn't mention it before. I only just thought reason exclusion zones, right? And the list that was to play supremacy did have that shrouded that could go in a zone, but a lot of the missions that was not available to it.
Yeah, so people realized that they're not getting the use of infiltration and just didn't take units with it.
And camo markers are so pivotal in just what Rob Cantrell calls that crumple zone, just to slow down your enemy from getting into the chicken coop of your deployment zone, right?
And you said was it game 3 or game 4 you played an assassins player who failed 3 out of the 4 of their Delamy because he wanted to get them he wanted to get them across the board, but he couldn't. Now imagine if you were playing a game where you didn't have exclusion zones and you had 4 Delamy in the midfield, just being shotguns and Panzerfaust for your avatar.
Yeah, and he definitely he felt by that at the end of the game too.
Yeah, so I think that has a pretty big effect on people's decision making with lists and also how the game just plays out.
It's a really good point that a tournament is not just a tournament. A tournament is a set of missions that may suit some factions or lists more than others, and that might be part of why you see a skewed result. And so, not to make too much of one tournament that has a skewed result.
Yeah. And I think if you face more players that recognised your list hinging on Norkius and gone for him a little bit, I reckon it would have been a bit harder for you.
I had have lost some lieutenant roles and people had have alphaed Norkius. I could have been in a difficult position to score. Definitely.
I think me and Kevin were talking about one of the skills that Kevin's really developed is knowing, being able to look at a list and seeing what it hinges on, and then targeting those those weaknesses, right? So be it Dr. Worm in a countermeasures or highly classified for a faction, or just some pieces that you can see that they're holding the list together, right? And going after those, and I think that's a skill in itself.
Yeah. Do we want to wrap up with some Patreon questions, or do you have some more questions, Val, for Lachlan?
No, I'm okay. I don't have anything else. I think Lachlan's answered my question pretty well. Actually, no. Sorry, just the state of the game. Do you think it's in a good state, balance-wise, Lachlan, or what do you reckon? Just touching back on the fire team changes, things like that, I guess.
Generally, I think it's good. I just think tags are a bit too strong, and they should, just touch them a little. Just take tag awareness away from red pres tags, something like that. It just brings them a little bit back into line. Apart from that, I think it's pretty good.
Yeah, awesome.
Okay.
No, I think we've answered most of the Patreon questions. There was just one from Hoppy, but I think we kind of really covered that one. He was asking about the difference on the list, even though they're very similar. I think Lachlan answered that because one, it's the less mental load, and two, there's supplies or the exclusion zones determining between the Greif and the Speculo.
And plus, it just seemed like a fun meme to bring to avatar lists and be able to avatar list.
Yeah, we did have one question from Kyle. We may have answered it, but I'm just going to ask it again anyway, because in case we haven't answered it specifically. So I mean, yeah, speak to your decision about to play the avatar was a TLDR, but the more Ramley version was basically the prevalence of tags at Novacore and in Australia generally. He says half of the top 5 brought tags. He says in the US they don't see as many tags, possibly because hacking is so strong. I think maybe because there's a perception that hacking's so strong right now, tags often present a liability, and he wonders if Australian players tend to lean into tags to counter other tags, thus making tags something of a self-fulfilling prophecy. Or is he reading too much into it?
You know what I think is a self-fulfilling prophecy? Lockie Carter. That's what I think is a self-fulfilling prophecy. He loves tags so much, and he is so vocal about it. He's guides to how to use tags, and he's always talking about it, and he's very vocal, and he sort of becomes a representative of the Australian meta to some extent. So
maybe, yeah.
I think international people think the Australian meta is Lockie Carter, and as great a player as he is, and he would love that. And I'm sure
get a little screenshot of that.
This event had a lot of tags. I played at a lot of other events that did not have a lot of tags. They probably are a little bit more prevalent. For CA, it's great because you've got Norcus, who's a great killer hacker, kills all the hackers. A problem for the Sphinx or the Avatar. But the idea that we're all playing double Jotun all the time and that's all we do is not quite correct.
Well, I think it also comes down to the fact that Australia has a high minimum wage, so we can afford to buy these bloody things.
Tags are bloody good, though. They are really good.
Do you think that they have that their liability to hacking? Because I didn't experience super heavy hacking when I was at on the weekend, but I mean I keep hearing how good hacking is, but then I didn't really see it.
But it's good, but what's it going to do to a tag, right? It can isolate or immobilize it, which doesn't kill it, right? And it's still useful if it's isolated in reactive or whatever.
Your privilege is showing. You're Lachlan. You're saying it can also be possessed unless you're an avatar.
Well, I guess it can, but then you just get it back with a command. That's another funny thing that happened in the game with Nick. He tried to repair something for a classified, and he spent all but one of his command tokens. And I was like, "You've got to spend it, otherwise it's going to die." And he's like, "No, I need this command token to get my blue wall back." Which subsequently I just killed it anyway. But I don't know. I just think yes, hacking can be a problem, but as Lockie Carter again has shown him many things, and he taught me by playing his tags many times, be careful with them. Don't run them across into your enemy's deployment zone and try and kill everything with them, because yes, they'll get hacked or they'll get speed. What you do is you kill everything that you can draw a bead on, then you withdraw it back into your own deployment zone so it's far away from your enemy, and it is hard to hack then or hard to CC. Yeah, they can fire a picture or whatever, but it's a lot of effort, and often your tag is disposable anyway. If it's like a Gator or a Sally that's like 74 points or a Rachel, like it's not the end of the world if you lose it, and your opponent has to spend a lot of resources to do that.
And do you think
hacking is a tags, but it's not a like scissors, paper, rock, insta kill.
Do you think that the hacking has maybe become slightly more of a weapon against tags since the fire team changes? Because now a BS14 or BS15 tag only has to contend with BS15 link teams.
Depends on the faction. Like against Nomads, sure, of course they've got repeaters out the wazoo and great hackers. But obviously, if you're playing against them, you're going to prioritize killing the hackers, killing the repeaters, and that's how it's a game. It's an interplay of things. Like hacking is definitely a counter to tags, but it is not an all-encompassing one. When you in a game where 80% of problems are solved by shooting things, big stompy things that are great at shooting are very valuable, especially once you took up the value of armor by changing the
way that crits work. Yeah.
The other thing with the exclusion zones in an event, it meant that you needed orders to get out of the deployment zone. So bringing that TAC awareness order from the tag was also another benefit.
They do everything now, right? It used to be your fire team with firepower, but a tag's better because it can move faster and you don't risk 5 orders. Now tags are specialists as well, when they never used to be. Now they've got the TAC awareness. So not only do you get wounds and armor, you get extra orders, and it's a specialist if you need it, and a specialist to be killed. So they kind of do everything that you need done in the game now, whereas before they didn't. So,
but in such a lethal game as Infinity, if you play it wrong, your opponent will almost certainly have something in the list that can take it out pretty quickly, or they should at least.
But I found, since I've started playing tags, I've found the mental playing Infinity is much less. I used to play Nomads, and you sneak around with one wound, tricksy models, and try and throw smoke, and you get one face-to-face roll wrong, and you think that you just spent 6 orders and 40 points on dead. But with the Avatar, one roll goes wrong, I take a wound, whatever, I just shoot you again, and then if I want to, I heal it, right? Like, there's a lot of kind of safety and redundancy in that, and less decision pass, right? My decision is much easier. If I can shoot something with the Avatar, I shoot it with the Avatar. Same with the Jotun, same with the Cutter, same with the Sphinx. Like, at the end of the day, it just makes the game easier to play.
Interesting. Well, there you go.
There you go. Well, I think that pretty much wraps up our questions for you.
For being a shorter fucking episode, Jesus Christ.
Is there any?
This is how my games go as well. I'm like, it's 2 hours 15. I'm deploying. I'm like, 5 minutes to play. We're gonna have this over early. Like 10 minutes left. We've got 2 turns left to play. And we're like, what? Where did that time go?
Exactly. No, absolutely. Nick wanted us to mention the BCB player pack is now live.
Okay.
So basically the BCB player pack is live. So get on there, pay your money, and check out make your list.
Yeah. Is there anything you wanted? Any final thoughts, Lachlan, for yourself before we sign off?
Just maybe you can have a vote whether I should continue to play the Avatar, or because I feel a bit
shamed. Shut up.
No. There's no
shame. I said before, I literally logged on to sign up to IGL 5 with my Avatar list because like I said, I don't feel like I've quite mastered them.
Oh yeah.
The first thing I saw was one of my good friends describing my list as a typical toxic combined army list.
Wow.
And that made me rethink, and I did not join the IGL because of it, because I don't want to give people a bad game. Is
it more of a is the online community or TTS community more like concentrated in that kind of
more polish, I think, is what you're trying to... No.
I think the TTS players in the IGL, you might get a quite slight when you announce WIP 17, but they're probably less likely to have a bad reaction to it than somebody in person, because the people in IGL, they self-select to be very competitive, high-skill players.
It's a different. It's a different. I mean, I don't know. You can maybe speak to it briefly, but like you just said you didn't join up to the latest IGL because of you didn't think the Avatar would be welcome.
Well, I just don't like if people are thinking that bringing an Avatar is toxic and they don't really want to play against it, then I don't really want to play that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. If you want to talk about a self-fulfilling prophecy, that's one there, right there.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, I don't know. I'd quite happily play against my Avatar list. If anybody wants to play it against me, I'm quite happy to do that.
Yeah, let's throw down. Let's everyone like have a go and try and beat Lachlan's list one at a time. Just like a really friendly gangbang. Just like come in.
It's like that scene from The One, the one where he's at the top of the pyramid at the end of the movie.
There can only be
Good
one.
reference.
It's just you at the top. Just
Anyway,
like,
it's time to move on to something else. I'm sure the next thing I play, people say is open.
Have you got any thoughts? Are you going to pick up the new Steel Phalanx Hackaslam box?
No, I think I'm going to go back to Bakunin because I want to play that Taskmaster plus 2 Morlocks thing.
Yeah, that's really
good. Fire team changes like the Bright Girls are queens of fire teams again as is right and proper. So I'd try and make people cry with double missile launcher Riot Girl lists again.
Gross.
And double Uber file commandos as well.
Triple Uber file, thank you. They're AVA3.
Triple.
And they're so good in reactive.
Surely there's like redundancy where it's like after 2 it's too much and stops being effective, or maybe not.
Because they're good in reactive now. They can dodge into close combat. So.
Yeah, that's pretty fun.
You make me fucking sick. Anyway, on that note, I'm just gonna sidestep from a single avatar to double missile launcher, triple Uberfall. Bye bye. I hope I never play you again.
After me and Kevin preaching tolerance, now we're ending on the show and be like, "Nah, fuck that. That's disgusting." Hypocrites all around. We're all hypocrites. We're all hypocrites
right.
all around.
No, don't ban the avatar. Just ban Lachlan.
Oh Jesus! Make it personal.
All right. Well, I think if that's everything for tonight, I think we better wrap it up. Thank you so much for coming on the show, Lachlan. It was really great.
Thank you so much for having me. I've had a ball.
Yeah, it was really great to hear you talk about your 5 games and get your insight. It's fantastic to have you on the show. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you.
All right. Okay. Well, you've been listening to Lost Lieutenant. My name's Kevin.
I'm Val, and Lachlan. This is the part we stay quiet, but.
No. This is where Lachlan can say goodnight as well.
Oh, sorry.
I'm Lachlan. Good night.
Yay! Oh yeah, I've got to roll the credits. Hang on. Oh fuck, I forgot about that part. Yeah, you did. You got me right. I'd said that, and I was gonna roll the credits, and I forgot. Anyway, we're still live.
So this is working well then.
I screwed this up. I'll delete this bit at the end. It's fine.
Yeah.
No, leave it in. It's funny.
Yeah, actually could be.
It's fine.
Actually, we should get Lachlan to do the editing. This is what he does for a job, to be fair. He'd be a lot better at us. No. He'll like palm it off to one of the interns. They'll be like, "What's this?" "Oh, Infinity." Like, "Oh, do you play the Avatar?" "I quit."